Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. Closed on Sunday, you my Chick-fil-A. Rig the World Cup, put that thought away. KC fans, y'all hold hands and pray. Flukes over AL and T1, we'll celebrate the date. Showmaker showed out, boy did he violate. Smashed on Sunday, no burger kind of way. You won a draft, but had your souls to pay. Kometo was wiling, always kept the faith. D plus swept them, made sure they're wide awake. Follow LCK, listen and obey. No more living for the paycheck. We nobody's slave. Yamato didn't actually know, by the way, that was coming. So I just came up with myself a minute before I went live. Like, everyone knows the two reference points for me culturally, Yamato, are Seinfeld and Kanye West's Oeuvre. So, whatever, listen, I think I cooked with that, mate. I think that was pretty good.
Honestly, when I do it, we open up the call and then Thor says, I have a song prepared. You're going to get surprised. You never know what you're going to get, but this was... I'm like, all right, the show can go on. Yeah.
Okay. Because the problem is, he thought the fact that I didn't warn him meant it was going to be like, we just cancelled 5 minutes into the show. Like, right, that's it. Could be about anything, man. It's going to be about like politics, the World Cup. I also just playfully reference those things in that. Well, I didn't go as hard as I do on Twitter. If people don't know, by the way, actually the most overrated thing about my career is the idea I'm some like broadcast risk. No, I have always depended on who owns the channel and what sort of show it is. I always like have like a level where it's like, right, that's the line. The difference is on Twitter, by the way, there is no line. Remember, I don't have a boss that you can like contact me. He's doing a tweet again. Like, spoiler, tell Monty that he's going to be like, yeah, no shit, it's a day ending in a Y and he's Thorin, bro. Like, we built the whole company that way, basically. Like, we've actually sort of what you call future-proof that. Like, yeah, it's basically, bro, we even called the company Last Free Nation. May as well be called Last Free Thorin, like, at this point in time. So don't worry about it, homie. Don't even worry about it. Anyway. Let's get into it. So, yes, obviously, as I alluded to jokingly in there, let's be real, right? I understand the way everyone's bread is buttered. This isn't a show watched by South Koreans. And even of South Koreans, I'm sorry, there's not that many South Koreans that specifically D plus or Dam 1 fans. Like, they're all T1 fans, or there's the odd Gen G fan, there's some nutter KT fans that still hang on. Fair play to them. They're like the fucking Spurs fans of the world. And, I appreciate you still riding for your crew. So what I will say is, just like when Los Ratones was going in LEC versus, of course, whether you think they're the best or not, every video has to start like that, because that's what everyone wants to talk about. The key thing is, I'm always going to give my take, but I'm going to talk about generally what the community itself is talking about. I want to be polemic and have my own take. So I actually think the main part of the EWC discussion has to start with KC, even though D plus won it. Because as I alluded to in the song, it's not like, here's one thing, here's what's funny. People think I hate on KC, right? Look at the bracket they had, boys. They did play Anyone's Legend in the T1 into D+, right? I'm sorry. If you go back before that, even all the streamers and broadcasters and everyone who glazes KC would never say they make the final. And then also, even though they weren't good in the final, sadly, the day before the final, you could absolutely, as I said on Twitter in one of my tweets, you could make a case they had an above 0% chance of winning all of EWC. Now, imagine saying that before the playoffs, mate. Like, I think people who were watching Asian League of Legends thought every one of these teams would beat them. Anyone's Legend, by the way, that should just be jungle support. Dave, T1, you shouldn't even be in that game, mate. What are you talking about? How's Gliss never going to get a game off? He's playing against the best ADC in the world and probably the best bot lane, including the GOAT support who, by the way, did his own Z-Woo skit and called himself the GOAT like fucking 3 weeks ago or something mad. So I think we have to start with this, because no matter what you think, it's hype as fuck. Of course it is. Sure, they were BO3s. By the way, that still doesn't matter. Go watch those Swiss systems at Worlds. They still don't win fucking BO3s. Like, that's why, there's that line that a lot of experts say. They go, a lot of the LCK results in nationals are actually carried by T1. It's like, you do know G2 does the same thing for all of the West for about 6 years now, bro. Like, it's been a long time since Doublelift and fucking Core JJ got that IG win. The rest of it's just like fucking Jat, Azale, and about 2.5 coaches I respect in NA going, we almost had him. And then here in Europe, mate, we actually win games. You know what I mean? Well, our upsets, yeah, we pull them off. We don't just go, we got near the finish line. It's like, yeah, but there's only two people competing. You're second. Like, yeah, best second you've ever seen, though. It's like, nah. So anyway, let's start with KC. Let's just start at the beginning, Yamato. Obviously, most people, if you saw that bracket, would be like, I said, you're dead. There's no way you're going to make it through. Again, and by the way, justifiably so, we hadn't seen them play this level. I've actually never seen KC play this level, by the way. Obviously, they've just come off that humiliating MSI where they got donked on by TL, by the way. Forget fucking T1 for a minute. And then even though they had way back the first stand, that was a million years ago with a different roster, and there's almost no connection to me between those two teams. So I actually think, let's just start there. What changed between group stage and MSI KC and the KC that had this run where they were given work to like top 4, top 3 teams in their region?
Honestly, I think the big detail is first and foremost, like the discourse around these tournaments is always so black and white when everything is very gray. It's like, for example, I made the point about I made the point on Twitter, which is a point that I made in the past. The Khalees is like the one player that might create a circumstance where you can have a winning bot laner in a circumstance where bot lane is very important and it not be a gimmick. Because I chose my words very carefully in terms of how sometimes, we've had wins with like Heimerdingers or certain counter picks and certain moments and certain, let's say, cheeses in the sense that strategies only happen once, but how Kalista plays is very pure. And then the commentary in response was, well, it's only WC, it doesn't matter. No, but we're watching the games, we're watching the games and actually taking takeaways based on the substance that is there. And I think the main difference for me when it comes to KC, I did think in terms of their ramp up, like just looking at how they ended in the LEC with how Kao started playing better. The MCOY series was what a revelation that was in terms of who he was as a player, because over the span of the last 2 months, he's been the most consistent, the most just always there in every game that was there, from being a straight up liability and a question mark in the context of KC and their bid to even beat a team like MCOY just because of how good Jojo Pune was at the time. And then they had, of course, the finals against G2, took the 5 games. KC looked like they were improving in the departments they were weak at. I think when it came to MSI, it was clear based on interviews that the scrims that they were completely shook by the opposition, and they tried to pivot very heavily in terms of where the meta is. We saw even a team like T1 struggle with the same thing, because you have clear parallels in terms of how these two teams are, in terms of how driven they are through bot lane, in terms of how important Kalist and Busio is. You can add that same level of importance, of course, to Paze and Keria. And they were there with the conflict of, should we play AP's bot or not, and should we pivot away from our strategy? Because this, I think, it just punched KC in the gut. And I think the crucial thing for EWC is the fact that they could start in the tournament rather slow. Because if I compare KC and how they played in the series, let's say against T1 in comparison to some of the BO1s and of course the best of threes they played, it's like they almost lost already against, if I remember correctly, Team Secret. Their group stage was very, very rough, but I do think that the vision of victory kind of brought back confidence, because I saw a clear ramp up in the level of individual play that we saw from Kana, we saw from Kalist, and also from Busio. It just seemed like they kind of found themselves in the game again, because in terms of where they are lacking strategically, that's where I think that in EWC, they kind of get away with it. But in terms of their confidence in the individual play, because if I just look at Casey's highlight reel at this tournament, it was always off of some individual outplay, whether it was Kana's Nar baiting out or Kalist just 1v2ing in the bot lane against T1. I do think that KC is back to what they were in the LEC. And they came at this tournament much more rested and with a far smaller logistical challenge in comparison to the teams that went to top 4 at MSI.
I tell you what, let's talk about some of the players, because as you mentioned, it was specific player performances that were key to have here, right? Obviously, let's do the Kalist topics. I agree with you. I've always said, ever since I saw him at the first split in the LEC, I can see why they hype this guy. Like, not only is the talent there, like, I'm sorry, the only player I can actually compare him to in the West that was like his role is Forgiven. If people don't know, the first split Forgiven ever played in the ULCS, literally most people were like, he's already the best ADC. Holy shit. Now, you could never really crown him that because he was on on a bad team and he had like a bad support and he was never going to be like relevant to win a championship. So I'm sorry, people do care about like, can you also then like, here's the real problem with being the up and coming talent. You've got to actually like prove it in the big playoff games before people accept that, because there's an obvious reason. I've heard this stat and I've seen videos to show this, right? That really good, talented players in the NBA, in practice, some of them can do crazy shit, bro, like just hit 53 pointers in a row. Now, if you don't know, a really great, like the greatest players in the world for 3-point shooting in the NBA would have like a 40% accuracy. Well, how can they have 100% in practice? Because the point is, with no pressure, you just get to floor and be at your absolute peak, because pressure is a factor we want to exist in the game that makes it hard to battle through. And what makes you the greatest usually is you can do your best in the game that has the pressure. So it's not that anyone was looking at Kalist. Like obviously at MSI, he definitely struggled and he's actually had some dodgy games in the biggest playoff games, sometimes in LEC. Sometimes he's played pretty well. So I think it's totally fair that people simultaneously hype him, but also that people are skeptical. And they're like, hey, show it to me though. Like, I think most people's real take is this. If you notice, loads of experts, they're not just doing it because of these results. They do go like, Kalist could be like the best ADC. Maybe Kalist is top 10 in the West, obviously. Maybe Kalist is top 10 in the world. But notice then, the second G2 wins the championship in LEC, we all go, but Hans Sama, you got to give him his credit, because if this Hans Sama does it, he does it in the big match. And because of that, you have to give him some credit, whether you prefer his style or not. But I do think you look at the raw talent of Kalist. This is why I'm with you. It's the same reason why I've hyped the fuck out of, even notice not all these names made it. Jankos in the early days, before he'd ever made a final, back when he was just the king of the first blood, self-made because he had crazy hands. In the modern day, you look at Skewmon. The reason why we hype these people is, it's like you say, oh, the potential isn't just you could be the best in your role in EU. It's like, bro, you could actually be like one of these chosen ones that can go against the Koreans and can go against the Chinese players. So I think that whole thing, people have missed this or misunderstood the framing of this whole Kalist is top 10. First of all, you do realize, is Kalist top 10 in the world at ADC is very different from Kalist saying himself, I feel like I'm top 10 in the world at ADC. Those are two totally different statements that have a totally different like context. Like, by the way, if I was him, why wouldn't you think that? Remember, he is the guy in this analogy who's making the 53 pointers in practice. Remember, it's even implied he's given the fucking work to G2, even if they win the splits. If I was him and I haven't gone to many internationals, I've been to one before this, and before MSI, of course I'd think, mate, in fact, maybe I'm even tearing Hans Sama up in practice. Who knows? Like, you know what? Before I had Tag Armors, now I've got Brucio. Like, we're working pro. That's totally legitimate. The problem is, can the rest of us say he's top 10 in ADC? I think then you have to see something like this. You have to see him actually do it. I even think the AL one was slightly overhyped, because it's like, bro, did any of you have hope as your top 10 ADC? Fuck off. Now, the difference is, the Piers one is cool, because actually, even though, by the way, Piers showed the fuck out himself, he looked really good. Kalist, like, at least was able to match him in some of those games and have massive impact himself. So I actually do think this conversation is an interesting one, because I usually think the problem with any conversation like that is, I'd say this to Kalist or his fans. Yeah, but bro, you don't play in China, so I'm sorry, you have no idea how good 1xN is or Asum or something. Because you don't see these people at Worlds, you just forget about them. And what you're really thinking is this, which makes sense. If you just look internationally, you're just thinking, well, I saw Hope at Worlds, I'm better than him potentially. Wait a minute, Doc Dam almost won Worlds. I think I could maybe be as good as it. That's reasonable. The problem is you don't know how deep it goes in those other fucking regions. So I want to know what you think on that topic. Does what he's done here make him top 10 for you? Can he be top 10? What do you think about that whole discussion? Because it obviously was so polarizing. Like, it was all just people hating or loving him as usual.
I think you hit the nail on the head, right? In terms of what opportunities you get to show it. It's like you are simply at a disadvantage just because who you play against regionally on a day-to-day basis. We get to see the best of the best play against each other every day almost in the LCK and the LPL, and here as an LEC player you get very few chances. I do think to of course the credit of Kalist, I do think that his first stand, the first international he went to, he was actually playing very well. Like, I think he was up to par and was actually stepping up in some of those games. I remember specifically the series against CFO, which of course was a very, very strong team we saw in the aftermath of all the internationals that year. And I do think that with what he showed here, the hard part is the MSI. The MSI was such a dark moment for KC that even I was like, okay, I don't even know how you recover from this. Like, they need to show me something really, really grand. But in the context of this tournament, I do think that Ezreal game stood out as something that was very good, because there was that one particular moment where he was just 1v2ing. He was playing aggressively, diving pace in the 1v1.
I looked like a solo queue clip. It was insane, wasn't it?
That was like very, very memorable. So that was like a very, very huge plus. But it's like we're doing very, very vague math in terms of how we add things up, because of said difficulty of measuring, of course, LEC players against the LPL and the LCK players. But as you said yourself, it's like there's so many players that don't make internationals in these. Like I'm even in the position where I might even think that Leave might be one of the best ADCs in the world.
If people think you're wilding, go watch the VODs for real. Just go watch the VODs.
Leave is a freak.
He's really good. He's really good.
He's ridiculously good.
Genuinely.
Ridiculously good. And the challenge of that, it's like the same, obviously at another level, but when we compare Caps to other mid laners,
perfect analogy, yeah.
It becomes the difficulty there, right? Is when we compare him to Zeka and Showmaker and all of these guys, it's like the argument is always, it's like, yeah, but he's doing it in the LEC. But it's like he's winning LEC all the time and does well at internationals, and still a very, very tough question to answer. It's like, where do you rank Caps as a mid laner in all time? It's like now he has such a long ass career, so it becomes a little bit easier, but it's still, there's been years where it was like, oh, it's very difficult to put him above these guys that do it over and over again, of course, in tougher regions.
No, I'll even give you the football analogy to that. It's why, even though we know these players are mega, justifiably, if you can't hard carry in League One, the French Football League, or the Bundesliga, the German Football League, so Mbappe did that with PSG, now Harry Kane does it with Bayern Munich. Unfortunately, you'll notice a lot of people either don't watch that league, so there's not going to give you the credit, or they just go, I'm sorry, that's not as good a quality league as La Liga, Premier League, etc. And that's why, unfortunately, you won't get to be like the #1 player. Doesn't matter what your stats are, bro. They can be bonkers. Like, people are just going to think that's a lesser region, though, because the difference is the games are on some level easier. Like, they just, because I've always thought the Caps one is a good example. Here's the thing: if you asked me, is Caps a top 10 mid in the world? I don't think there's that many years he is. By the way, there's a couple of peak years he is, but I think in the other years the problem is, if this was like StarCraft or Dota or something, or CS, and he did every tournament play those guys, I think he'd be able to prove it. That would be, I think actually he would have had more years where he was. Maybe there'd even be years, by the way, that are crazier, but like in those games, maybe there'd be a year where he was like the second best mid laner in the whole world, because you just saw him every week on the equivalent of LCK. If there was something like GSL back in the day where you could go as a Westerner to go and compete like in StarCraft, I think he could have been. The problem is you have to give it to those other people, just like I gave the example about La Liga and Premier League. I'm sorry, if you play in those leagues and you're the shit, you just automatically pretty much get to be considered better than the other ones, because we see it from you every week. The other guy we see is best, and then we go, he could do it, but could isn't did. There's a big difference between those two. No, I thought that was a good angle to start with, because I thought that was, to me, if you notice, I actually think that was an example of almost like a fake drama, because it's like neither position really makes sense. He's not like an absolute lock top 10. Yeah, he must be, because he had these results. And it's definitely not like, oh, it's just 1 week in an EWC, it doesn't matter. Like, mate, looked like it fucking mattered to me to Pace and Smash when they were playing these games, mate. They looked like they were going balls. Like, I'm sorry, T1 looked like they tried really hard in this one. In fact, I'd even argue when we get to it, I think they even like overgreeded that game 3, or even tried to like do some Giga Stomp to humiliate Casey or some bullshit like that. So let's get into some of the other topics, right? So before we move on, I just want to finish the Casey angle. I'm with you on the Kiahu one too. Remember, after that first split he played, wasn't everyone's take like, oh, well, then there goes all hope for KC, because they don't have a strong enough mid laner. And not only would he not win LEC, but are we ever going to internationally succeed? Because I think a lot of people saw Kiahu as like some, like, he's good Korean, but he's not going to be like, oh, we've secretly gotten Core JJ, or so, you know, some guy who's like better than he could even, or Canna when he was popping off in KC. I think a lot of people were hating on him, but I'll tell you what, if you actually go and look now, especially this year, bro, he keeps getting better, and he's holding up in these games. I'll even say this. I actually think he did that thing. It reminded me back in the day of when they had that JDG 2023 super team, and all the fucking casters, because it's what happens in Teamfight. We're just watching Ruler, if you remember. Every comment's like, Ruler moves, Ruler gets a kill. And the whole time I'd be like, did you not see that? Like insane, like Nico fucking old, like Knight got off, or like some mad Annie stun angle. Bro, that stun he got off near the Dragon Pit in game 3, they lose that game if he doesn't do that. I mean, that's just, I think it ends right there, in fact. They get wiped at the Dragon, or that was like, it was one of those ones where, because it's just a guy stood still, it doesn't look super hype. That's never going to be in a fucking highlight clip. But that's actually kind of like a veteran play. Oh, that looks good. That would be the sort of shit I would expect Faker to do in a big game that would turn the whole match, you know.
I can easily say that over the span of last 2 months, whenever the last week of LEC was in spring, I think the Kiahu has been the MVP of KC. I think that what a elevation of performance. He just was so damn consistent, even at MSI when like KC was at their worst. I do think that even then he was playing well. Kiahu was held down the fort, and respect to them. I do think that in terms of what EWC represents for KC's campaign to overtake G2, I do think it reflects very well on them in the fact that they managed to bounce back from that MSI performance. Because imagine just a world where they just don't finish that series against Team Secret. It was funny when we had MCoy and KC play simultaneous. Like
this
that,
episode
that
would be
series
hitting
that
on
was
them.
so damn close.
Of course, they come last place. Yeah.
It's like you need sometimes you just need a little bit of luck, and I've been in that situation. It's like I almost lost to Excel in a game 5, with Fnatic, and then we found like a miraculous, just like a Yumi Q timed with a Gragas ult on a Sivir, so she couldn't spell shield the ult to bring us back into the game. It's like what are we talking about, And then what do we talk? Sometimes you need a little bit of luck, and then you just need additional chances to play, because that also speaks to how sometimes the eye test can only get us so far, because the challenge of playing against better players means that your bandwidth gets tested on a whole different level. Sometimes in order for us to judge a player super high, we need to see him in games that are actually difficult, because sometimes there are pro games where a top laner or a support didn't need to contribute much. It's not their fault. But if we judge like a player off of a game where let's say the Rumble game 4 that BOG played against HLE the first time, the first best of 5 when they beat them. Ben, all he did was just farm. He was 30 CS down. Sorry, this was against T1 in game 5. When he was like 20 CS down against Nar, he all he did was farm, made sure he's safe. It's not extravagant, but if we just judge him off of that one game, then it doesn't make sense. You need to be tested. You need to be in actual difficult circumstances to show what you're capable of. It doesn't really work. The eye test can only take you so far. So we just need to see these players in more and more of those situations, because especially with internationals, you have so many players at this point. It's like the talent has been very consolidated in most teams, and you kind of see the usual players show up to international, so you can kind of make an assessment outside of the performance regionally in terms of how they could ramp up in preparation for an international. And I do think that eventually KC players, like for Kalis in particular, will get to the point where we've seen him at 10 internationals, we know what to expect. Now we've had a really good one, a really bad one, and a really good one again. We just need more of that volume before we can concretely say that he's top 10.
I'll do one of those rare moments where, even though most people consume this podcast via YouTube, podcast platforms, Spotify, etc., as video on Spotify, people don't know. Obviously, we do it live on Twitch and YouTube, and then every now and then I will just glance over the Twitch chat. I do usually regret it. Like my IQ gets lower, the arguments get worse. But I just thought I'll shout out one of the worst takes I've ever seen, which is the angle. Are you ready? It's the angle that for caps. Oh no, we're going to invert it, Yamato. It's not that your caps needs to go to the LCK and LPL where we see every week you have to play demons that are fucking really good, No, it's the other way around. Can we really know that those other really good LCK and LPL mids who don't go international would be able to win LEC with Caps' teammates? That might be the worst take I've heard in fucking years, mate. First of all, they don't speak English, you moron. That you've already cheated on that one, haven't you? Like, it doesn't even fucking make sense. Like, by that logic, by the way, Mbappe wouldn't actually be as good if he played in the Japanese league. Do you know why? Just speak fucking Japanese, does he? It wouldn't make any sense, would it? And then also, here's why it's a mental take. Because, bro, that just tells me you don't watch those leagues. Because you're telling me, by the way, Showmaker himself doesn't usually, where was he at MSI? Didn't get to go, did he? So you're telling me Showmaker, by the way, I think most people don't have Cream high in their top 10 mid lists if you don't watch LPL. Cream, fuck it, I'll even throw a Scout in there. You do realise these guys would look like the second coming of fucking Prime Faker if they came to the LEC tomorrow speaking English and able to like communicate socially with people. Like that's the worst take of all time. You've basically done what I said earlier. I'll do the football analogy. Your take is like, no, you can't say actually that, you know, Harry Kane and whoever it is in PSG would be the best. You have to go the other way. Would Prime Ronaldo and Messi have been able to play in League One and the Bundesliga? It's like we don't have to worry about that. It's not important, is it? It's a shit analogy, mate. Doesn't it make sense? Nah, we don't. That doesn't need to concern us. Don't worry about that. But it's all good. Here's the thing: you contributed. You had your say. Oh, by the way, your camera froze for a sec. Just redo your camera. Wait, there. There you go. It's back. It's back. Oh, I think it's just lagging a little bit. It was all good anyway. Right. Here's the thing, Yamato. Unfortunately for KC fans, they were eating good in the quarters. They were eating good in the semis, but on Sunday there was nothing to eat. They had a very, very poor meal. It would not have sustained them. But if they'd have had our new sponsor, they could have had a complete meal, whether they had the ingredients on hand to make something or not, couldn't they?
Obviously, my homie Thorin here is talking about Huel. You know, I've been in that same situation as Casey. You know, here in Germany on Sundays, everything is closed. And, you know, like, I don't know what it is about something that men do, because I've noticed men do this, because it was always the same with my father cooking too. Is like you go into the fridge and you just take everything. You just take everything. Put it all into one. And I had one of those moments when I did that thing where I just took everything. And then, you know, I sit on the floor in the living room on the next to the table, you know, and I just sit there in my underwear and I just look into my bowl and I'm like, this is rock bottom. I had like frozen peas, eggs, you know, like random breakfast sausage, and then I had like this ham, and then I put cheese on top to melt, and it was all this microwave. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Obviously, Sunday everything is closed. It's tough. You know, I've been in similar situations. Like I remember I was at this Riftbound tournament, and I just assumed that they would have something to eat there. So just anything to eat. And I came hungry, very hungry, and all they had was, together with their coffees that you could order, was these little biscuits that you could get. And I was so damn hungry. I needed something to fuel myself. I was like, please, can I have like 20 of these biscuits? So I'm just sitting and eating these damn biscuits, and all I could have done is just prepare myself with Huel. It's very, very simple, comes in very different forms. Obviously, I've been testing out the strawberry banana, which is delicious. I'm loving it. It's very, very filling. I think that's the main thing. It's like you drink it and you're full for a very, very long time. So in both cases, could have saved me from hitting rock bottom. Could have saved me, of course, from crunching these random ass biscuits, because I could have just brought this with me. Now, Black Edition powder, 40-gram protein, mixes with water or milk in about 30 seconds. It's a complete meal you have instead of food, not a shake on top of food. You know, just plain and simple. It's a meal. You don't need to care about any of those crazy details in the aftermath. That you drink it and you're done. It's like oh, one part of your day already settled and done. 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, colors, or flavors, which is massive. You know, and some of those things that you eat is like you think to yourself, it's like there has to be some chemical science behind this, because something's all about this, and you kind of feel it in the aftertaste. With this one, absolutely not. The RTD bottle is a grab and go version, 35 grams of protein, 7 grams fiber, under $5 a meal, which is crazy. And now, of course, we offer 15% off online for new customers. You just have to spell HUEL, you know, just once for the tracking. So with that being said, make your life simpler and just grab an easy meal to go. Don't hit rock bottom like I did. Make sure that you're protected on those Sundays where everything's closed in Germany. Limited time offer. Make healthy eating simple. Get Huel today with my exclusive offer of course, 15% off online with our code LFN at huel.com/LFN. New customers only. Thank you to Huel for partnering and supporting our show, of course. This is delicious, by the way. I will say, nervous, you know? I always get nervous.
Here's the thing, I'm not even someone, by the way, who drinks banana flavour stuff, but actually I drank that one as well. The strawberry banana one was good. I actually tried it also instead of lunch one day. And by the way, unlike eating a bunch of biscuits, if no one knows, the worst thing about, by the way, if you want to know why British people are overweight, it's actually the biscuits, mate, because they have biscuits with tea, biscuits during TV shows. So unfortunately, a biscuit lasts you like fucking 30 seconds, mate. And then after you've eaten half a pack of that, it does not last you 3 hours, I'll tell you right now. Like, the difference is that actually did last me to my next meal. Right, okay. What about this? Since some of these teams played Karmik Cop, I thought we could just talk about those teams now, right? An obvious one has got to be T1, because I have to say, Yamato, as soon as they were playing KC, I actually thought what surely everyone thought, and DWC marketing, we're going to get Showmaker versus Trophy in the final. Nice, it's going to be a BO5. And you know what? It's not like they were bad. Like, if you go to a certain point in that T1 game, if I was to get that same graph thing that the people had for the BLG versus HLE one, I'm pretty sure there'll be a moment in that game where like T1 has some absurd control, because they were doing that thing, Yamato, where this is where I always tell people, you don't know the legends of the fucking Korean boot camps. Game 3, the first part of it before KC turns it, is what some of those boot camp games are like, mate, where they just decide, we're not even just going to play you in a League of Legends game, we're going to humiliate you. We're going to like basically play like it's solo queue and you're all noobs and we're like a fucking stack, and we're just going to dive every tower, every kill, we're going to greed and go for the next one. And at one point it looked like they were going to blow them completely out the game. So I thought that, I actually thought T1, you can't even say they came in and playing their worst league. Like, they were looking fucking spicy, mate. And actually, Piers, I thought in this series generally was unbelievable. Like, he had some mega angles even in that game 3. Like, what did you think of T1 here?
You know, the strange thing about T1, it's kind of like the function of their presence at internationals and the level of fear they strike into people. It's kind of like the belief in a currency. It's like the US dollar is not backed by anything. Everyone's just believing in it and using it. And they have trust that other people will also believe in it as a store of value and credit. And I feel like we've reached a moment in time now where T1 have always leaned on this, right? In terms of, oh, our experience is going to dig us out of this and they're going to get us out of this. But we've had now 2 very, very harsh and bad losses that were contrary to what we always thought and saw was to be, of course, T1's biggest strengths. In terms of T1 losing after getting 3 Barons, that is unthinkable.
Oh, it's mental, isn't it?
That they are on the receiving end of what they did to Katie that one fateful day, where they came back with a massive goal disadvantage, where T1 is the team that gets baited around and dragged around into bad decisions when T1, of course, their history is all about sharpness at internationals in those moments. To see the Pantheon would come in after Kana baits them to not walk down into enemy base, to just invite and engage, that was, just to keep them there. Like Casey was playing around with them. They were getting postured on, and they had no cohesion in their decision making. And the reason I bring up the G2 loss too is because now it does seem like if you come into an international, I do think that the argument you can make as a coach or as a player as to why you should be able to beat T1 has never been easier. Because regardless of their like their form ahead of internationals, there was always, that ramp up. Now we have had 2 internationals here where there was no ramp up, when T1, especially in terms of how I view them, it's like, what is their biggest strength as a team is when other teams fall to the lack of practice and the interviews and the harsh travel, these are guys that are just going through that entire year and they're going to just show up and dominate, like they did the first EWC when it was kind of a logistical nightmare being so close to, of course, MSI. But now that has just shattered completely, because right now it's like if you go into the World Championship, are we going to have same beliefs? Like, let's say Summer Split is rough and they barely qualify. Are we going to believe in the same idea of a T1 that is just going to be able to pull their shit together when it comes to an international? Now I think that teams more so than ever are going to view them differently, because I do think that there was always a level of fear that T1 instilled in others, where they got away with a lot just because they came in to the games with such a level of confidence that their opponents believed in what they did to be right too. I think that the AL series last year at Worlds was a good example of how T1, regardless of what they did in the game, it turned out being right just because AL also believed in what T1 was doing. So they were just leaning and playing into their game. And that illusion has now been shattered. T1, I think their performance here, I'm looking at Owner and Keria, they haven't really found themselves. I compare them to the previous year. Especially what is so surprising is that I kind of expect a continuous improvement, because that has been the story of Owner, and that has been the story of also Keria, especially with what we saw from Keria in spring. With these two guys underperforming, it does feel like T1 don't have much to stand on. It's very, very harsh at the same time, because the decision making in game just doesn't look sharp at all.
No, for me, the real reason why they actually, this one I do think they blew. Like if think about this, if they just pull out that game 3, because by the way, the game 1 was awesome. We had the classic like Keria, Camille and everything. If they just win game 3 there, bro, we didn't know it at the time because that was actually the first semi-final, but they would have played D+ in the final. Like I think they would win the tournament, mate. Like I think this would actually have been like, but here's the funny thing though. I actually agree with you, Yamato. I'm glad they didn't. I actually think it's better for them that they didn't if you want them to have some like run at Worlds again, because I do think in their team, this is what's funny, because the bot lane has never been stronger as a pure bot lane ever in this era of T1. Of like, I'm sorry, Gumiusha was a different type of player. He wasn't like the lane specialist like this, and you definitely couldn't just put all your eggs in the basket. The problem is the top side of the map has never been as fragile either, though. Like, it's not just like if you looked at the LCK split, it was mainly just the solos. It was like Thorin and Faker. Are they really going to match up against Bin and Knight? Or by the way, even Chovy and Kane, if they'd ever actually played them internationally, yeah, they got the one win at Road to MSI, but I'd like to have seen them at an MSI upper bracket or something. The problem now is this, though. Bro, Owner, I think last year, his best year of his whole career. He's having some nightmare games this year. He's having some really sus moments that, and then suddenly your entire top side's just gone. And like, I actually really do feel bad for Piers. Like, brother, you just can't carry these games. Like, someone made a joke on Twitter, but it's true. Some of these games feel like last year when he was at JDG. It's like, doesn't matter what you do, mate. Like, you could play 11 out of 10. You're still going to lose. That, unfortunately, is the life of ADC. It's actually the reason why, by the way, Viper's gone back to BLG. He played that whole year last year at HLE, doing his absolute best, doing 11 out of 10 shit. At the end of the year, basically just went, get me to Knight's team. Like, yeah, that's what I'd say too, mate. There's no space for him on Chovy's team. So yeah, get me to Knight's team. That's all you can say at that point, isn't it? So no, I agree. It's mad. And in a weird way, though, I actually think it's good they didn't win, because I think they have to go back. I'll tell you another thing about T1. I don't generally do too much commentary on draft. Mate, they have got some massive draft issues. And I always say this, Yamato, when someone actually, when people are top players, I know they don't have a top coach necessarily, but, or people are considered good coaches, I don't really think they're just getting checkmated 24/7 in draft. That suggests to me, like, you probably just don't have any options, mate. This is probably just what you have to play in some of these games. Like, you're not really in a position where, like, I actually do think that's another thing you could argue that KC got over some of these teams. Aside from I even think there was a game or two in the final they did well. They were actually out drafting teams too, even Asian teams. Like, some of the Asian teams have limitations in failures draft, it feels like. So I don't know about you, but this actually makes me really skeptical going forward. It's like, I'll tell you the obvious angle to pivot into in light of this discussion, which is, if we have a look, there is a poly market for the LCK winner. Now, I've done this one in the past because obviously HLE winning was the angle from MSI, right? Then people are like, oh, wow, does this mean HLE? And if you remember on that episode, because at the time, Gen G actually had the highest one, a lot of us thought it's kind of the based angle is Gen G would have secretly also done really well at MSI, so maybe they're still the best team and they've got the best roster, haven't they? So, but now, How Do I Life is actually number 1. They're 33%. Gen G is 32%. T1's gone, they're at 23%, so still pretty good. D+ has obviously gone up, but unfortunately no one cared about them, so they've only got up to 8%. I will say, if I look at this right now, it's hard after the 2 tournaments to say Tier 1's going to win the split, mate. Like, if I look at it right now, like, the difference is I can find a world where Handball Life wins. I can find a world where Gen G even wins. I don't really think I can find a universe where I can find a way that D+ does, even though I feel bad for them. We'll talk about them soon. They had an amazing run here. Look at who they played. But I don't know. For me, with these ones, you just pick Handball Life or Gen G. And I think one of those two will still win LCK. Who do you think will be the LCK winner as of now that we've got more data, more games to think about?
I think HLE, Gen G are like between these two. I do think that both are flawed, but I think that the game will kind of continue to be in the same state. So I kind of I think I would maybe give HLE a higher chance because nothing seems to be too harsh in terms of how disrupted they are. And Genji's issue with how they play with jungle and support has been an issue of theirs for the last like as long as they played together. So that's a very, very big jump to make. And Genji, even at this tournament, were suffering because of it, because Canyon and Duro just haven't been able to just kind of pose any threat as a jungle support duo. It's always their highlights are always from some kind of individual play that they do, whether it's a dragon steal or some kind of mechanical play. Never something that they do in unison. So I think HLE is just the easier angle right now. But in regards to T1, I think that the easier chances were winter and spring. It's like we think about winter. It's like if I just think about it, obviously this is in the context of LCK because it's one tournament. But
It
if
means
I think
LCK
about,
Cup, but we're just calling colloquially. Yes, yes.
it's like obviously like winning the whole LCK. That's what the word is. You can only win LCK once a year. But just looking at, if I compare their chances in summer in comparison to winter and spring in terms of what their opposition was, it's like we had an HLE that was struggling. We had a period where Genji was struggling and T1 didn't rise to the occasion. And T1 have too much of a history that supports that they will not be able to win the LCK. It just hasn't happened in such a long time. And it's a very, very specific tournament that rewards very meticulous preparation, consistency over the year, and just a ramp up. And I just look over to HLE in particular. I look at home and Mowgli, what they've managed to do with the team. I have this year more than ever, I am looking at who is actually in the coaching staff because the track record actually speaks for itself in terms of the impact. And that's my concern for both Genji and T1 in terms of what they have offered so far, because they seem to be stuck in their problems while El Chile still have the problems. We still see Canavi at his worst, but they somehow find a way to still win through that because they mask their weaknesses. And T1 and Genji are very, very bad at doing that.
If we rewind a minute, because we're just going to go all over and cover EWC and then we'll do some other stuff. There's also, if people don't know, there's some interesting stuff actually that we'll talk about later. Like there's a Kesper Cup out of nowhere where because of ENC, they've had to pull it forwards. That's basically immediately happening now, even though that sounds mad because you're thinking Thorin Kesper Cup was in the off season, but there's another one now because they can't do it in the off season. So anyway, that'll come later. We'll finish up EWC. So I want to rewind and go back to Europe. I'll tell you what has now all of a sudden not become as outrageous a result, bro, is G2's result. Because, brother, they lost to BO1 to Anyone's Legend. By the way, Anyone's Legend are complete bombs. They were like the fourth best team in the LPL playoffs. And they obviously have like a very good support jungle. And then in the lower bracket game, in the qualification match, they lost to D+, and everyone was laughing at them. D+ just won the tournament, then went on and beat BLG, Gen G, and then KC. Like, bro, that suddenly in hindsight doesn't look as bad. Yeah, listen, it wasn't good if you watched the games. It was bad. But I think you also have to add that detail. Like, because of the bizarre circumstances of the coach change, Perks wasn't on stage with them, guys. He didn't draft. Like, there was a whole bunch of weird shit where you can't. I know a lot of people are trying to take this like, wow, with the way MSI ended against Lion and then Perks comes in and they lose now. It's like, no, not really. Like, for me, I actually think I can't take anything from G2 at this tournament. They did play it bad, but it was just a few days after fucking MSI. What's your take on G2 after this one?
Yeah, I don't know. As it's weird because we have to judge it through the lens of all the drama that is happening on the outside. It's just so hard to kind of look away from that because Perks had one of the most honest interviews ever.
He did. When you say that, let's be real though. We mean honest in the Nako way or the Calist way. Because I'm with you. These brothers got to get off the mic. If this really was UFC, by the way, they'd be the best salesmen of all time. You'd be watching every fight. The problem is, y'all are just giving too many things that are private out for free. And you think you're doing it to justify who you are. But it's making you look a bit stupid, unfortunately. I know what you mean. Even though I know why he did that interview, Yamato. It's obvious, actually, by the way, that he almost feels like G2 dropped him in it and made him him feel like he's the punishment for Dylan Falco losing to Lion. And he's trying to prove that, like, no, I was with the team already. And besides, it wasn't just MSI. We had the bad result. Like, he's even implied it's not just him. Maybe they even think the Gen G result was a fluke. Like, that was just like a miracle result where in practice they lose to, I don't know, Giant X or something mental like that, or KC. So what's sad is, even though, again, as with everything with people like Perks, I get exactly what you mean. But mate, the way you phrase it, and also, again, something I had to learn a long time ago, Yamato, timing is everything with making public statements, my dude. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but you know, one of the maddest tweets I ever did that got me like giga ratioed and trended for a whole week was in 2022 when I did that tweet when I said Fallen, beloved legendary Counter player. I said Fallen is the most overrated player in CS history. Now, here's what's mad about that, Yamato. That tweet alone would bang and get you destroyed by millions of followers. But I did it right after he carried a series at the Mage. Because I just have that. I told you, cacoethes. I have that trickster energy to me. The problem is, I'm not the head coach, bro. It's bad enough I get banged on. If you're the head coach, most head coaches, I make the joke, grabs even when he has to signal. It's not really me. He has to keep going, but it's me. But it's me. It's all me, guys. I'm the one who fucked up. Of course, some of us don't want it that much. But even so, I should know. But that's the modern day game of being a coach. So here's what's weird. Don't you think right out the gate that sort of shows? Perks, you still think you're a player, bro. Like, this is, I know it's dope that you're giving us transparency, and every fan lies to you that they want transparency, but actually what they really want is you to say everything's going to be okay in the interviews and say things like, and I'm going to be humble, and Dylan was a great coach, and I'm going to work my way. They want all the bullshit, basically. They want you to make them feel good and tell them things that make them like, oh, I can trust this move. That is a crazy red flag interview, bro. That is crazy. I was loving it, though. It was, oh, delicious. Oh, Perks, you're spoiling us, but what a nuts interview to put on the internet, bro. What a
Oh, he just straight up, he said he joined the team in spring and he said that scrims were horrible, the atmosphere was shit. He said like everyone was so depressed after the first stand run in scrims, and he just started giving them pointers, and then it's like it just puts such a, it's like we never get access to like an opinion so unfiltered.
No,
obviously it's like from outside, it just looked like, oh, this is G2's method.
You know, one of those gossip magazines on the back page of the newspaper for sports do those stories where it's like sources close to, Lamine Yamal say that actually he's really upset with Barca and he wants him to fire this teammate. And you always go, who the fuck are these sources though? That's like if he just did that interview and said that. Like, what are you doing, bro? Listen, I love reading it again, Yamato. Listen, Perks, for me, the journalist and the guy who does so many insights, do 1 million of those interviews. Now, me, as someone who actually cares about you and G2 and your career, don't ever do that interview ever again, bro. Run that by someone first. Ask someone, does this make sense to say right now? Can you be too honest? I know it sounds fucked up, but these are questions we have to ask, mate, because I know what you mean. Like, there's some crazy shit in there, bro.
It's just, it puts everything under a different lens. It's like he's calling the first time result a fluke because it beat 2 LCK teams, and then the follow-up of scrims being bad. It's like what I perceived as, oh, G2 are aware of what they need to do, and then they ramp up and win the finals. Like, maybe it was just that close the entire time. Like they won a game 5 against MCOY that they threw. They went to game 5 with KC.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's like I looked at that. I was like, this was just G2 kept composure, kept control. That's just who they are. And it's crazy to think now. It's like knowing that scrims were bad and the situation was turbulent. That after 5 weeks of Perks joining the team in spring, that they offered him the head coach position is quite wild.
Doesn't that also make you question, though, like I say, also, if we're speaking of timing, I've got to say G2 has to take some blame too. Your timing and the way you did that post about Dylan Falco made it look like it was like you literally, you know how the Portugal guy essentially almost got fired immediately after the World Cup, even though, by the way, in hindsight, that also just looks crazy bad. But at the time, everyone was like, we did nothing in the game. Even though it turns out no one does anything against Spain in the World Cup, by the way, right? The timing of this made it look like Romain just walked into the room and was like, Dylan, after what you just did against NA, get the fuck out, you're fired. I don't care what you did. That was that made it look like that, even though based on what Perks is saying, which I believe, actually the whole time they were planning this, if anything, they stupidly should have waited a day day, that was almost like what you were really saying was like, oh, you know what? We're just going to move ahead anyway. He's going to do it for EWC, and Dylan can stop here. We already had problems anyway. Finally, even though we look at what's actually, if you do it the way I say it, even makes sense. We even beat T1. Turns out T1 aren't that good either anyway. And then we didn't even beat NS. Actually, now we should get ahead of it. Like, rather than bring Perks in 4 Worlds, that'd be ridiculous. Let's get ahead of it now and do this. And Dylan Falco's done his best. If anything, he's won a fucking split while his team shouldn't have on paper. I know what you mean. It makes it sound like they won the split and then probably went backstage like, holy fuck, did they know we were supposed to lose that one? Like, what are we doing? This is nuts, bro. We almost can't lose this shit. But they weren't going back and going, yeah, first stand was real, baby. We're this shit. Like, I told you, by the way, I tell you what, Yamato, people might not like what I say, but I have some fucking good reads. That's all I predicted with no speculation. I bet it turns out the players voted for this. I'm even going to go and guess when we say the players Caps just did, bro. I think Caps was just like, you know what, I agree. Let's have Perks come over and be the head coach. And this, as you said, it's implied it was always the plan. This was going to, I think they moved the window up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think in my mind, I don't know if it was genius to keep people distracted from the fact that they got destroyed by a lion, because they shifted what the conversation was about.
It certainly did.
I think if people forgot quickly.
Yeah.
that was like, you know, starting a war over some files, you know, like, I'm kidding. It's just, you know, and now in the context of G2 and that tournament, it's just, you know, everyone's memeing on them. You know, everyone's like the community meme is like, oh, this year the LEC has had 6 flukes in total. It's like, you know,
I like it.
all these, you know, I love it when, you know, it's like people, like players do interviews, and then that's just like what they say is just taken into every context possible. I don't know how many top 10 Calist moments I've mentioned too. I find it kind of hilarious. I would go insane.
Here's the thing that was also, it ended up being good with the Calist one. It became memeable. It became a narrative for everyone to use. If they win, you say it. If he loses, he can't be top 10. In some ways, we're eating good with that shit. You fucking feeding the narratives, wasn't he? I know.
100%. And it's like I do understand from Perks' side as well that he does feel, you know, it's like any form of failure from G2 will be pinned on him.
Of course.
And he kind of now framed it in a way where, yo, I'm joining the situation. That isn't that good. You know?
He's also trying to set. Yeah, I know what you mean. I hadn't even thought of that angle. Fuck, you're right. What he's trying to show here is, I didn't join after they beat fucking T1 at MSI and all the rest of it. And now if we don't do that and more, I suck. It's like, actually, we shouldn't even have won those games, and we're dog shit in scrims. Like, he's almost saying, I'm starting to, because didn't he actually say that in the interview? Sort of made it sound like you'd expect I'm joining at but it's almost like I'm joining at rock bottom. You know?
He basically said he was misled. He's like,
yes, I was so crazy working in an interview. Just join, bro. You just got it. You're basically telling your boss, like, that boss doesn't really communicate, but you know, this is an interview, Perks. The mic's on right now, mate. Like, I wouldn't even say that on the Teams meeting that you have every week on a Monday, mate. What are you doing?
He's like, bro, I thought I joined this team. I'm gonna have a chill coach assistant job, and then everything's on fire.
I need to send Perks that clip of my boy Jose Mourinho, because you know what, Jose Mourinho said a lot of crazy things on the mic, but even he was like, if I speak, I'm in trouble. You need to understand what that meme was referencing, bro, because you're speaking. You'll be speaking, my dude, and you are going to be in trouble if you don't win, if you say this shit, for sure.
Just the EWC. It's like with all of this in context now, and EWC, Jesus EWC, it just seems like just the same way as KC. It's like it doesn't seem like they've had a chance to actually digest their MSI result, their MSI problems, and what it seems to be problems already from Spring Split. Like even that small detail that usually, like, I wouldn't care about, right? But we have to talk about what we see, right? Until Perks has another interview. But it's like, even seeing the body language of the G2 players, like, even look at that through a different lens. Obviously, I don't like reading into it super much, but there were so many moments where Skumon just looked like he was livid, you know, about the game state. He was reacting very, very heavily, and obviously some players perform under that, blah 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 blah, but it's like it puts everything into a very, very specific context with all the details that we have now. And now with the EWC results, it's like losing to D+. It's like strategically, it was very uninspiring. But then again, it's like a lot of teams have actually had massive draft losses. It's just a part of the equation right now with Fearless. So it's like I'm not going to sit there and say it's like, oh, they have bad drafts, they're terrible, because a lot of teams are doing that. It's like a lot of teams have drafts they come into that are just straight losing right now, more so than ever, especially with APs being bot lane and everyone being very, very open to the level of diversity we have in the game. Like, for the love of God, Blaze was playing Silas. And I can tell you, like, in those team fights where he's playing Silas, it didn't look like he has played more than 3 games of Silas in his life, you know? It's like everyone has a lot of liberties, and it's a blessing and a curse. The AL game was, kind of whatever. I think their group was hard, but you're hoping... If I didn't know, if there was no Perks interview, if there was no Perks details, no context about everything that he said, I'd be like, they should come into this EWC group, because I think I made like a short maybe like 3 weeks ago before all of this came out, right? 3 weeks ago, I was like, they should come into this group, and this is a very good group to prove yourself. They should be able to beat these guys. But now with everything that I know, I'm like, yeah, this team is on fire.
No, you look at that group, bro, and even though now we know D+ was better, etc., mate, anyone's legends being a bit sauce. D+ themselves, they were irrelevant in Road to MSI. Like, you could look, and if you really believe the G2 that beat Gen G still exists, they win this group.
100%.
You're definitely getting through. Yeah, I'm with you.
With BO1s as well.
But it's a media circus now,
advantage.
isn't it? You can't. Here's the thing: you can't ignore that drama. It's not just spicy. Yeah. It also feels like it's relevant too, doesn't it?
Yeah. I was like, I'm excited to see the continuation. It's like, was the circumstance around, of course, Spring Split, were they lucky to win? Will now KC carry momentum? Because now suddenly with EWC, all the drama and how KC played and how they kind of came out of it, is there a world now where, like a series that goes to 5, will KC finally be able to triumph over G2 in a summer split in the LEC? Like that is a kind of thing that I'm excited to see how it shapes up, because obviously the pressure is on G2. But then again, the big strength for them is like similar in that fashion of how I look at KC. It's like in terms of the ceiling of some of the guys, like what we saw from Broken Blade, what we saw from Labrov. To me, what they showed on an individual level is still very honest and true, regardless of what's going on with the team. Team issues are team issues. But your potential as a team and the ceiling you can reach is bound heavily by how good your individuals are. And I did feel like Broken Blade and Labrov at MSI broke through that ceiling. At EWC, less so. And obviously, in terms of how you do your team play, it's such an important detail now, because like even watching Chovy play now, there's a big chance that this guy is still the best mid laner by far. It's just he's just so ridiculous in terms of how he plays. Yeah. Even in that 3rd place match against T1, it looked like he was the only player taking it serious. It was like he was the only player that was actually like almost flawless. Yes. Because I bring that up because even in a world where Chovy and Keen are performing super good, even a team like Genji can falter on team issues. So I'm just excited to see the development of G2. It's like how will they approach the summer split? Everything now I'm looking at them through just a very, very different lens in comparison to like 2 weeks ago.
Also, we just released the Hot Take Point Made League of Legends one that I do with Key Rains Avatar. And one of his points, because basically he's like a hater of Fearless, is he actually agrees with me that one of the problems you have in Fearless is it's fun for novelty and for like thrill for the games, but we've lost a lot of mastery. And all of a sudden, you just can't have as many elite players anymore, bro. Because think about it, right? You're only elite based on the champion you play. I'm sorry, that's how League of Legends works. So even though like Bin was elite, if Jax could be played 3 games, like I'm sorry, Bin probably isn't elite right now. Like if you look, so there actually aren't that many elite players. And in fact, one point Zabateam made, I actually agree with this, because you have to go so deep in your pool. Remember, you're not just playing 5 champions in a 5-game BO5 Fearless. You're also playing games where they pick your champion away, they ban your champion. So you might have to go like 10 champions deep by the time you're on game 5. And his point is, he actually thinks the reason some of these series go to game 5 is because at the end of the game, like, it's just like fucking a whole bunch of people playing comps and picks they've never played before, and then the ADCs kill each other. That was his joke. Like, the ADCs just kill everyone. Like, it's sort of true right now. I think ADC is such a mad powerful. Think about this tournament. It was about Smash. Yeah, it was Showmaker too, but Smash turning up is what allowed them to win this tournament. If you look at BLG, isn't part of their rise and fall whether Viper can play them Bizarre Mage or he has to play normal ADC. Wasn't Case Callisto on KC the whole reason they made this epic run? Paze did his absolute best to get T1 in the final. He almost had them there. I actually think ADC low-key is the most like based role in the game right now. Like the game, for all ADC players in solo queue have spent 10 years going, my role is not the one that gets carried. You could be mega powerful as ADC now if your team is good, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of like ADC is such a mixed bag now, because there's definitely games where it's like, oh, it's Ziggs versus Talia, they're just clearing waves.
True.
And then the next game it's like just the most brutal matchup, like range versus range support, Caitlyn versus this, like Kate Elise versus Mel Pike. Whoever makes a mistake, just their nexus explodes instantly. It's like it's such a mixed bag, because you know, it's not only like the details that you mentioned in terms of like picking and champs being gone. It's just that the moment the enemy picks a champion, already the mutation of the draft just changes completely. Like with Fearless, I wonder if somebody in our comments could do the math in terms of how many different mutations exist. Because I would be surprised if there was a single game 3 that had the same champs than any other game. Like post game 2, 3, 4, 5, the compositions and the opposition, there is almost no chance. Like mathematical.
You know that thing where people, you'll know this because you know a little bit, right? You know they say in chess, there's like there's like millions and millions of permutation.
Yeah,
that's why even the greatest player can't really memorize every game and every possibility. That's actually why people use computer engines, because a computer engine can think 20 steps ahead. It can have an archive of every game ever played. And even then, by the way, it's possible to still have a move so unique that you can beat the chess engine. If people don't know that actually happened in that game Go, in game Go, it's a simpler game than chess, and it had been solved. And some top Korean guy, when he did his equivalent of Gary Kasparov against Deep Blue, because he was getting his ass beat by the computer, it just solved Go. He had to, the way he won one game was by doing that, Yamato. He basically found like a super unusual play you'd never make, that you almost like had to make a mistake first to win from, and that's the only way he beat it. Because I'm with you. I actually think if you go and look it up, I always say to people, and by the way, this is just BO3s. Game 5's a best of 5. Both teams, surely, even the winning team is playing a comp they might never have played, and probably against a comp they never played. I don't think that's even a unreasonable step. I'm with you. I'm pretty sure if you run the math on it, it'll be millions of permutations.
100%. And I do think that we do lose out on like that level of class and that level of display. It's like I do
one where
think
it's like,
though,
hey, T1's got their pick comp, they're going to play off grubs. Like that shit from standard's gone, bro. We have no idea when a game 5 loads in.
and that's why, you know, it's like people you know, clown on us sometimes because Genji, you know, fell through. It's like the reason I still believe that era of Genji is still, to me, the most impressive League of Legends team ever, because they went in and out of styles so seamlessly. It's like they made it seem like playing League in Fearless. They made it seem so damn easy.
Yes.
Because look in a world now where Genji is not performing, and look at the world of League of Legends right now in terms of how chaotic it is, even at the highest end. It's like we have HLE, BOG, those are the 2 best teams, with Genji right behind them, and now D+ won the whatever. It's like HLE and BOG don't have any sense, like their level of consistency, it can be all over the place. Like they can have terrible games, really great games. They can go in and out of that between maps in a BO5. And Genji, when they were dominant, they were just winning. There was no, they just looked completely untouchable, because they just went in and out of style so seamlessly, and at the same time just were so good at recognizing the condition of the game and just made decisions collectively so beautiful. Now, obviously, you have individual players underperforming and they are not doing as well. But I do think that the current landscape of where we are at in terms of where the level is at the highest level, I think that it supports the claim that Genji during their best was indeed like one of the best teams, if not the best team of all time in terms of just level of play. And for me, I wonder if it's just like one of those things where Riot is very happy with that, right? They are very, very happy with that. They lean into it. They are very happy about it because in the end, you know, variance is fun. I think for the average viewer that doesn't want to invest a lot of time, they love hearing the story that a D+1 in EWC. They love hearing the story that G2 beat T1 or different teams are at the top, because it keeps it fresh. So for us, that have watched and are looking for the highest level of league, we are going to suffer for it. But we are such a minority, so I still understand where Riot is coming from.
The reason why I said when we did that, like, who was going to win LCK, I actually think now that there's like more of like parity in the numbers, the reason why I say pick which one you believe is better. Is HLE fundamentally better? Is Gen G I think those numbers made sense, because on the Gen G tip, we'll go directly to D+ later on, right? But on Gen G's angle, bro, this is low key why I actually said after MSI, I still think they'll win LCK, mate. I think they'll still end up with that roster. They can just get back into it. They've just got a mega roster of players that have just like one more player gets good. I think at this tournament, mate, that was a really close series against D+. Then they beat T1. I think they would have won this competition if they win that D+1. Like, they beat KC easily, in my opinion. And actually, in this tournament, essentially, they only had a hard time against D+, who was having like a miracle run of their own, like a Cinderella run, where certain players were just playing way up here, bro. Like, I don't know that continues. So, what do you think of Gen G in terms of trajectory for them?
The roughest part is like, I don't know. Once again, I'm going off of things that we get to hear from media and how it reflects on play, because sometimes it's like if you connected those dots, we saw like the downfall of Scout as a player. And now Ruler, I'm just looking at him. Maybe it's coincidence, but it's just that in terms of dealing with the whole drama and where he landed as a player post that, it's like Ruler is not connecting to the games the same way.
It's like he never came back from that drama, did he? Like, that tax thing like killed Ruler's career or something, bro. What is this?
It's like he doesn't seem to be as sharp as he was. It's like Ruler to me is my GOAT ADC because of like the consistency he's had over his entire damn career. It's like even during those periods where Gen G didn't have strong rosters, or when BDD couldn't rise to the challenge, like Ruler was always like minimum top 3 ADC always. And now he's making mistakes that sure, there were moments where he had like a period maybe last year ahead of MSI where he was weaker, but then he came to MSI and he just landed and appeared and he was just there and just played at an extremely, extremely high level. But now, I don't know if it was because they didn't make it to MSI, but just looking at his performance and the mistakes that he does, I do think that Gen G, the issue for me right now is that they are a team that is driven by high individual performances, but Canyon, Ruler, and Duro are just too inconsistent to support that. And they enter into so many games where basically it's like they're always going to be a top team just because of how good Chovy and Keen are. Like, they are unbelievably good. The moment any of their teammates has like a good game or like a solid game, they just destroy. They just win. Like this game 3 against T1 just seemed so easy. It's like, oh, Canyon's having a good game. All right, it's just the easiest game of our life. And the distance too. It's like these players have so much credibility, Ruler and Canyon, but Canyon now has had a longer period of being like a weaker player. It's just still they carry such a level of pedigree that I don't want to count them out because at the same time, as much as the fearless meta is kind of pushes you in different directions, the overall core gameplay loop forces you with jungle and support to put a lot of emphasis on connecting together and playing through mid. If that gameplay loop changes for any reason, which could happen, let's say Riot says we don't really like at all how support is playing the map right now, which is entirely possible, where they're like, okay, we're going to give a stronger incentive for support to stay in bot lane. Maybe we make sure that the support quest remains locked to level 5 instead of level 3 in terms of the penalty. We make the penalty greater, because right now what Camille's and Shen's are doing all over the Rift, I would be so damn surprised that if we get to the World Championship and that's going to be the same kind of pattern of play. There's no way that Riot's going to let this happen. And if that suddenly changes, and you have a situation where bot lane supports are laning bot lane and they're staying bot lane for the first 8 minutes of the game, suddenly, the kind of the meta inside of the game shifts, and suddenly maybe a team like HLE would be worse off, and maybe T1 will rise up because they like laning through bot lane, and Genji would be very, very happy with a change like that. So I'm wondering if patches will actually save them too, because as much as T1 and Genji require saving, on the other side, HLE is a team that I still view as a very patch fragile team.
Definitely.
Because the moment Kanavi needs to change or play differently, this is where I worry about this team the most.
No, absolutely. Like, the craziest thing is, whoever thought we'd ever be saying this line out loud, that like when they're on a top team, a super team, you have to worry that Canyon and Ruler aren't going to be good enough. Like, what? What fucking alternate universe is this? Like, that doesn't even feel possible, does it? But that's also, by the way, why I don't write them off, though, Yamato. First of all, there will be meta switches. It's League of Legends, like so much time before Worlds. And then also, a bit like I said last year with Bin, mate, these people can come back to form as well. They're all-time great players. They're not just some guy that was good for... Like, here's the problem. Diable, if people don't know, was like the Calista of the LCK. He had like a good sort of like on his way up last year. Then he had a really hard peak early, but then he's already fallen off and he's already gone back to just being like he's just a good player again. You know, he hasn't had the years and years and years that Canyon and Ruler had, and different teams and different metas and worlds and LCK. They've just got so much in the tank that, like, mate, it's not even. But if I just get one of those guys back, you know what? Like, the obvious one would be Ruler, because he is the fucking ADC, mate. We do have Keen here to do the Zeus and half the time be the weak side if you need to for the carry game. But at the same time, if Canyon ever comes back, Jungler's also really powerful right now. They're running the game the first 10 minutes. If the real Canyon ever shows up, I'm sorry, it's like some Slim Shady shit. The real Canyon has almost never been in this Gen G, bro. Even think about how many times, even when he first joined, he was playing like fucking Skada or something. Like, bro, give me the Lee Sin real Canyon. I want, you know, I'm doing that fucking X-Men first class meme now, aren't I said the real Mystique, or whatever, you know, the one where Fassbender, that meme where you go, I want the guy who actually does the mind-blowing players, actually the kind of players that fucking Order was making. That's the kind of players that Canyon's capable of. And if he ever turns up and does that again, Gen G can be number one again, because as you say, much actually like last year Knight did in BLG, bro, Chovy is doing his best to fucking plug leaks in the ship. He's fucking commanding, stay to this way. He's swashbuckling 15 guys who are coming over. He's firing a cannon himself. He can't do it all himself, bro. Someone else has to help. Remember, it's even worse on paper. This looks so bad for Chovy because it's a super team. The problem is these motherfuckers are running super on paper. In the actual game, he's just going like, "What? How am I getting inted on a super team, bro? What is this? Like, this isn't KT roster. What are we doing?" So, no, I think it's great. I'd still have a quiet, like I said, quiet confidence Gen G can get their shit back together. Right, I'll tell you what, though, Yamato. I also have suffered from similar problems to you, my friend. I've had times where I just come, I'm hungry, you feel that growl, you feel that, better go to the kitchen now. You go in there, and you know what? I didn't go to the supermarket yesterday. I didn't get, and you know what? Even worse, I know I shouldn't get like a takeaway or something. I shouldn't just eat some slop out of a fucking, you know, in Netherlands, we have those things where it's like, it's a bit like those sandwich shops in America where it's already prepared for you in like the wall, and you pay the thing and you get the thing out. You know, they have all fried stuff there. Listen, that's good for on the move. It's not real food. Like, the nutritional value of that is really fucking bad, bro. So what you have to realize, and I had to learn this myself recently, is the real secret isn't in that moment. You have to then go and buy a certain, that you have to have prepared in advance. If you prepare in advance, it's called a contingency plan. Then when that moment arrives, you have an option. You already have something, you pull it out. So, for example, in my case, so obviously I'm talking about Factor Meals here, right? And that's what's going to be the sponsor of this particular post. In my case, actually, even though I need to do more of the weight loss parts, you can see it. Underneath this, believe it or not, Yamato, I haven't told you this, I'm actually a little bit jacked, bro. I've been going to the gym like 2 to 3 times a week.
Damn, okay.
All right, you know what? I'll give you one little cheeky brag. All right, you know the leg press? The one where you're backwards at that and you're in like a 45-degree angle. On the leg press, I do, let me think what it would be. I do like 250 kilograms.
Okay.
All the way down, bro.
Okay.
I don't go halfway.
The grass.
I do the thing where you tip the seat all the way back, so I have long legs. And I go, brace way, all you need to know is this. I used to years ago occasionally go with friends to a yoga session they would go to. And I could never open the hips, you know. Man, I can do the thing now where I can do the full squat all the way. I've just started doing squats as well as a result. I can do that completely now. So yeah, I've been going hard, but my problem is if you're going to do that, since I personally eat a keto diet, I have to be really careful that I get as much protein as I can. And then obviously, because I eat low carb, I have to also be careful elsewhere. Like, I can't just have all fries and stuff. I need to make like the right veggies that got the right nutrient, because if you don't know, otherwise I'd have to supplement all those extra things as well. So I need like the broccoli, and then the other one, the carrots and all that for the estrogen. So anyway, the point is, actually, I need something like Factor, because they actually have their own set menus as profiles as well. Amongst all the menus and all the options they have things like, they have a Factor Muscle Pro collection. They have some that have more protein. If you eat low carb or keto like me, they have things designed for you. They have ones that are special for weight loss, for overall nutrition. They have ones that have GLP-1 support, not really something I'm into, but that's an angle for people who are looking for that out there in their diet. And every meal is crafted with functional ingredients, lean proteins, colourful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. Factor bans 175 ingredients, so they have no artificial colours or sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, no refined seed oils, just nutrient-dense food. And crucially, as I always say, this isn't like any microwave meal you've ever had, because most of them are shipped frozen. They get put in a freezer in the store. You take them home and put them in your freezer, and then you heat it all up and cook it. If you ever just look into how microwaves work, actually that process means at the end, it might look like the food you want to eat, but you're not getting a whole lot of what you'd want from it. The brilliant thing about Factor is it is chilled, never frozen. So when you get it, you're just heating it up and then you're eating it after a couple of minutes. You've already got it prepped. And these healthy meals anyway. These aren't like the TV dinner, like horrible thing where it looks on the picture like some nice food someone would make for you, but it's like the fake version of it. So in 2 minutes, you can have it ready. And they've got all sorts of things like ready-to-eat salads. They've got like edamame, 70 plus add-ons to round out nutrition. You can get green juices, peanut butter, energy bites. By the way, stuff like that's baller if you're actually on keto, but that'll become like your version of candy, basically. So head to factormeals.com/LFN50 off and use code LFN50 off to get 50% off and a free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until the 27th of September 2026. See the website for more details. Thank you to Factor. And that was all true. I am actually doing all those things. Anyway, put it this way. I did a little one on Instagram stories. But in the future, here's the thing, mate, there's no point bragging until I actually lose a little bit of the weight. Because at the moment, I've got some fat on top of the muscles. But if I do that, put it this way, I'll do a little flex. Because the main reason to flex is everyone always does that thing on that meme to me, like, you're 40. It's like, mate, I'll tell you what, if you see my condition at 40, a lot of you fucking young bucks that should be in the prime of your life, you better get in the gym, mate. You better sort your fucking meal out. Because I tell you what, I'm fucking lapping you as a 43-year-old man. I've still got all my hair. I'm still talking crazy buku shit on the internet. That part's not really the part to brag about, but I'm doing it anyway. Who cares? Exactly.
Well, you know what we should do? We should do a Last Free Nation like kind of fitness challenge.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We should do something like that. It would be fun.
Yeah,
like I don't know if you've seen back in the old days, they did like Sober October type of thing where they competed against each other. Joe Rogan and his homies in the past.
Yeah,
you know, maybe there's a way for us to measure.
I know what we could do. We could just do it like a safe version. Obviously, we'd never do dangerous. We could just do like a weight loss challenge. Like a month, if we all want to get to a target weight, we could do it. We don't have to start at the same place, by the way. We could scale it. It could be like golf where you set the handicap. You know, we could do something like that for fun. Because I know what you mean. The reason why that one's fun is not only do you compete and banter, but you also want to do it like the Sober October. It's something you want to do as well. You actually want to accomplish that goal, so it's a way to hold yourself to it. I know what you mean. Maybe we'll think about that. That would be a fun angle. Because I know
it's also so much easier when you compete with your homies.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
It's like sometimes I manufacture competition in my mind. There was this moment, like I remember in the past, like Dom was sending me, it's like, oh, I just went for a 2-hour walk. Look how many calories I burnt. And then for no reason at all, I went on like a 6-hour walk on the treadmill. Yeah. And I was like, look, fuck you, man. I'm better than you. He's like, bro, what are you talking about? I just manufactured this war in my head. It goes a long way, 100%.
Yeah. And also, I will say, just as a quick aside, if anyone wants to get into that stuff, it's like anything. In the same way as in the gym, you use progressive overload. You use that with how you do your training schedule. Like I started out, by the way, just doing once a week, and I would just have a personal trainer like make me do the stuff. And I used to not dread it, Yamato. I'd wake up like, oh, it's that thing to get into. The joke is now I do that stuff once a week, but then I do like 2 sessions myself. And then when I do the session now, it started as, an hour long. And then now I have more. Now I do like 2 hours every time. And it all sounds like this is some like if I'd have told myself years ago this is some crazy lifestyle, it isn't actually. Like, you get into it and it conditions you, the sauna scores away, etc. There's so many elements. Anyway, that is all to say. Let's get back into EWC, because actually another thing about EWC I want to talk about, you just mentioned it there, bro. If you're HLE, you just don't even get a minute. You get 3 days to celebrate. What is this like? You just won the fake LCK split because it wasn't a real final, but you did win that one. You did beat T1. And then you've gone to MSI. You've overcome BLG, who looked great. You've won the tournament. We're all going like, hey, Zeka, you completed League of Legends, all that stuff, right? And then literally within a week, no one's even talking about you. Nobody remembers you exist. Like, what do you think of this? Because HLE, they clearly are one of the victims of this tournament.
Yeah, they look like themselves at all. They did look like themselves, but their past selves, like in the sense that, like especially in the way they lost, they just folded very fast. There was no form of like resilience in the game. It's like when they were in a losing position, the way they lost was just so rapid. Like, I've never seen Gumayushi die so many times through ganks. They didn't really connect to the game. It was very, very clear that fatigue was kicking in, and like the point of like the top 4 of MSI not making it through and having like very, very bad tournaments. It was funny. Like, I made fun of Kalist for saying it in an interview. It was like where they mentioned that like he mentions like, oh, we didn't get a chance to rest after MSI. It's like, bro, you barely played MSI. You didn't even make it to MSI. You didn't make it through play-ins. Like, those 2 weeks are such a big difference maker. It is sad because the logistical nightmare that this whole EWC thing is, I don't even know how they piece it together, because the fact that they managed to have so many tournaments running of so many different games all at the same time, just to do it over a very, very tight window. Like, basically it's like 1 month of competition, all esports, they have to kind of align with them, whether it's Valorant or CS and all these other titles that I couldn't care about, like these mobile Bang Bang or whatever. Logistically, that just seems like such an impossibility that I don't know how you kind of create a scenario where EWC, if it just was 1 week later, it would have so much more legitimacy. If it was 1 week later, and then instead of BO1s, you would have best of 3s, and then maybe BO5s throughout the entire, of course, quarters to finals, just the playoffs. Then all of a sudden, this tournament would have so much more legitimacy because they're doing so many things right at the same time. And the proximity to MSI will always be like, we will just have a big asterisk on us, because this discourse around the tournament is so strange, where they say, oh, players just don't care. No, players care super much. It's a lot of money. They're competing against all the teams they want to compete against. It's like, if you're on stage against any of those international teams, whether it's Showmaker on the other side, or Faker, or your HLE, and you have so much pride on the line, it's like the people that think that these players don't care don't understand competition, and they also don't understand the cultural pressure of doing well at the tournament. Because if you do bad at this tournament, you're gonna get trucked either way. Like T1, I wouldn't be surprised if T1 is getting trucked right now. For their performance and dropping the ball. Like this tournament, I fully believe that the teams try harder, but it's just, how do you expect HLE and BLG to have like good performances here? It's such a challenge where you fly in, do interviews, all those beautiful videos that you see for 20 seconds before the game starts, bro, that takes hours and hours and hours to shoot. That's like, you're not practicing on that day, and then boom, into your hotel, you have to play the next day and hope. It's a very, very tricky thing to navigate. So I hope EWC in the future, maybe just 1 week, just 1 week distance would be super nice. It would be a big difference. Or maybe teams that make it further, maybe they decide the seeding later. Maybe teams that make it further are also seeded into a double elimination playoff bracket or something. There's something to do, because as I mentioned, the EWC do things right. It's like, I like the group system in the sense that the seeding makes sense. It's like, thank God we have LCK and LCK, like seed 1, 2, 2. It's like, God bless. We're not comparing, seed 4s to that are number 1 in their region, that is a smaller region, to the other regions. Like the seeding of the group was just perfect. So definitely things that they are doing right. But as you mentioned, like HG is the biggest victim of this.
Coming from Counter-Strike, you also just have to realize this is what happens when you have like an open circuit. You go from one tournament to another. What you did in the last tournament doesn't matter. And a few days later, you're playing again. And by the way, this happens all the time where the teams that did well in the first one don't do as on the other ones. The ones that bombed out early in the first one, they like come alive and fix their problems. So, because think about one of the things, right? If you get knocked out early, you have more time to fix what went wrong at MSI. If you just won MSI, you have no time to fix any holes you had in that tournament. Like you just have to go into the next one straight up. And in this case, if you're HLE, you already lost to T1. Like they were actually like one of the better teams at this tournament. Like you actually had a hard draw in the round of 8. So I don't actually take too much from this. Like, again, people are spiraling because they just expect on paper you're supposed to win both tournaments. But Korean teams are about prep. They need time. Like if you think about it, they had 3 days. That's to travel as well, bro. They were in the final of MSI. You have to travel, get there. I bet you have like half a day or 1 day scrims when you get there, mate. Like you're and also
I
if
doubt
you're
that
going
you
from
do that.
Korea to Saudi Arabia, what's your sleep gonna be like? It's gonna be outrageous, isn't it?
I even looking at some player camps, they just look like some players were just dead inside. And it's like, you know, you are at the best of your 5 guys. It's like if somebody during this travel, it's like your immune system goes down to, in terms of how your stomach reacts, how you eat, how you sleep, everything kind of is at risk here in terms of what can go wrong. And suddenly, you know, maybe one of your top guys is not performing, and suddenly it can be such a stark difference in terms of how you're going to play. It's definitely a massive challenge. And once again, you know, Genji managing to win MSI and then winning EWC just speaks to how goddamn great they were in that segment of play. Like that is something that we are gonna rarely see. Like that's a rarity in itself, that someone wins MSI, plays the finals, and then goes and dominates another tournament. There's so much that can go wrong unless next MSI is played in, you know, maybe the next MSI will be in Saudi Arabia, and then you just have to walk to the WC venue.
By the way, that's not a bad idea. I know in the future they want it to be in Riyadh, obviously, but like if you could, if it was in the same country as MSI, it'd be more reasonable having a few days later. If you just stay there and then you practice, you don't have any time change. Because I'm with you. To quote, there was once a line in a battle rap that was like this, that was fire, where they said even Evanescence couldn't have woken them up inside. Like that's what it was like. You were looking at some of those people that were dead, bro. Because remember, they didn't just win MSI; they probably played a billion scrims while they were there. They would probably try hard and so hard for like 2 weeks, basically. And then they've had to go straight into another tournament. In this case, here's the last thing also to mention before we move to another team. Remember, until the final, it's also BO5s, BO3s for fuck's sake. BO3 is randy as fuck, mate. Like, I know it's exciting in the BO5s. Like, that also gives you some insurance, though. I mean, if you go and look at MSI, how many series would actually the team that won have lost if it was only a 3-game series? There's quite a few of them. So I think people take for granted as well. It was BO3. So that has to count for both sides of the teams that did the run. It's why when we get to D+ in a second, I'm not as crazy hyped, even though I thought it was a dope-ass run. Let's do it, though. Let's do the D+ angle, shall we? So if you look now at who they played, Yamato, right, they beat... they lost to Anyone's Legend to start the tournament, which is hilarious because it shows even in their mega win, they lose to a team that essentially is internationally irrelevant right now. That's like losing the top esports. They lost to Anyone's Legend. Then they beat G2, who's just beaten T1 at MSI. Supposed to be a good team. Remember, it's not supposed to be a fluke, guys. You all said Perks was a hater. It's not a fluke. Then in the bracket, their bracket run is mega, bro. They beat BLG, the best team in the world as far as I'm concerned. They beat Genji, I thought the best Korean team potentially. And then, lucky for them, they didn't have to play T1 in the fight. They just played KC in the fight. If anything, KC was sort of like the desserts after all that. Like, what a fucking epic run. This was, and it's all BO3s, but they could have lost these BO3s too, but if you're a D+, put it this way, the most obvious angle to take is this, Yamato. If you want to look at the best, if you ignore the bad parts, forget Road to MSI, it never happened, Yamato. If I only look at this run, I can see what the GM of D+ is dreaming. Here's what he's dreaming. Bro, Showmaker's still got it in him. He plays so lucky, he was still a demon. If he ever shows up like the old Showmaker, hey, that's an elite mid laner, one of the best in the world. Then you know what? I gambled on these 2 rookies. People forget they're both rookies. Yeah, I have Lucid. He's a bit more champion dependent. But Shiwu, actually, forgetting Road to MSI, he could be a stud. This guy's trying to be like a carry top laner. He's trying to be some sort of a Khan, you know, Zeus type guy who's going to be a beast. By the way, he dumpstered bin in that series. Then you go to the bot lane. Hey, you know what? If T1 doesn't want Smash, we thought he looked good in the winter and spring split last year. We're going to gamble on him. Well, let's take him over. Look, the career guy, always been a bit out on it, whatever. He's a bit whatever to me. But you look at the roster, it's not like it's crazy. By the way, I would also guess as well, I already thought this before. I always thought this roster looked like you were trying to min-max, so you didn't want to spend big. It now turns out, this is obviously a key detail, as well as having this epic run, they don't even have any fucking money for people. Everyone's a month behind on salary. And for anyone who thinks that's no big deal, by the way, I've seen so many pros, Yamato, where if they didn't get paid their salary, they spiral. Like, it makes them just lose their shit. I know you should just go play the best you can and it'll figure itself out. That's really hard to do. There's a term that someone came up with recently, or at least I heard it recently, where when you have a concern like that, a worry, the real reason it wrecks you is it's called an open loop. It's the idea that you have a problem because you don't have a solution to it and you don't know how you're going to solve it. It's just in the back of your mind. It's like a process on your PC. You know, when your PC starts lagging, you pull up the Control-Alt-Delete and the system manager and you go, what the hell? There's like all these like tabs still open or there's something running. And there's like a game running I thought I'd shut down in the background. It's still running on my memory. That's like what happens when things are like, you're going to get fired from your job, or here's a good one for you. You've got a tax concern where you might get banned from the game, or here's another good one. At the end of the year, you have to go to the military, or in this case, you don't get your salary right now and you have no idea if it's coming next month. Mate, to go through all that and then actually win these games, what fucking ballers. That's some Rocky shit, bro. Like, mad respect to D+. What do you think about this run?
No, it's like simply amazing. You know, it's like the D+ story. It's especially, you know, once again, I'm going to reference, you know, some of those moments. It's like, you know, they had in spring, they had such horrific moments against KT, you know, with the reverse sweeps and even the best of threes. And we got to see how Stevie Max just does a stand-up routine on his players in terms of some of the feedback that he gave. And, you know, the moment you get any nuggets, you know, you get anything, you know, you get like 1% of any information of how a team works. That is always going to be like the reference point. Like if anything, this entire episode has been about that in terms of, you know, how we get nuggets of information and then people are going to frame the narratives around that, because D+'s failures was, you know, represented as, you know, a coaching failure through CV Max. That's how people viewed it. It's like, oh, this team, of course, they're not performing. Their coach is flaming them. And then here they rise through, you know, this hardship of not getting paid, and they manage to make it all the way to a finals and then win it. Hopefully it's like people going to frame things a little bit differently now. In terms of CV Max's contribution, it's like in terms of the issues of this team and the volatility of this team, when it comes to their individual players, it's crazy how Lucid and Siwoo can be the worst jungler and the best jungler in the like they can be the best in their position and the worst.
Them, can't you? If I didn't have money, bro, you have to gamble on a player that has like the ceiling, even if he isn't every day like that. Because that's what else you go for. You don't want the guy really is the sixth best top player. He'll never win a game.
It's crazy how you know they managed in a format where they could have easily just you know dropped out because of their inconsistencies to actually hit a relatively strong consistency throughout the tournament. And I think that if there were moments where any individual underperformed at this team, because sometimes like Siwa had maybe the occasional bad game, he got caught a lot, or Lucid just didn't connect to the game. Showmaker was phenomenal. Like Showmaker was really damn good this tournament. Like the fact that he played, you know, you mentioned the teams, but to then go through Caps, to go through Knight, and then to go through, of course, Chovy, that is like a list. And Showmaker, in my opinion, came out of those series at minimum like even. And that to me is super, super impressive. Like this was the first time I saw vintage Showmaker in a very long time. And it does provide me with hope for the D+ journey. But it's still the challenge of, you know, here you have an opportunity to do damage to these teams that aren't as grounded due to the circumstance of the tournament. You come back into the LCK and you just face off against, you know, all these demons again. And I think that what will be super interesting to follow as a follow-up, because D+ this tournament was just fantastic. Good drafting, good play, individual play. I saw like new ceilings for some of these guys, like Siwoo. Just he lost the game where he solo killed Bin 3 times. It's like it's they definitely have the individual star power. The main question will be when it comes to qualifying to the World Championship, because LCK is going to be so such a tight race.
Definitely.
They are very happy that they actually made it all the way to the finals and won it. So there's a fourth spot at least. But in the context of the competition, like it's going to be very, very tight. And I'm still looking at KT to be such a spoiler.
That's the one people are forgetting, right? Even those 4 slots doesn't guarantee it if you're D+, because if KT's half decent, it's going to be interesting, mate. Oh, I think you froze for a sec. Wait there. Are you back?
Hello?
Yeah. It's just your camera lagged again. It's all.
Okay. Well, mine nothing changes, so I'm not so sure. Okay. Either way, and even then, it's like Nongshim is another one of those teams where you look at that roster and suddenly they can become good. Definitely. So it's like it's LCK is going to be very, very tough. But looking at D+ this tournament, very impressive to me. Showmaker was just the golden player for D+ in this entire run.
Put it this way, if people know those Hoopu ratings, first of all, they are done by Chinese fans, remember? Like, the people, you have to realize it's not done by like a panel of experts. Bro, even then, they normally only ever give you like, credit. They gave Showmaker a 10 point. Oh, that's the highest. They gave him a perfect score. This isn't the NBA Slam Dunk competition where everything gets a 10, by the way. I've almost never seen that, mate, because he was just, especially late in the tournament, he had some Smurf games, bro. This was what he used to like. I've always thought, I actually said this on Shut Up and Scale recently, where we had a topic that was about who have the coolest names of pro players. I said, bro, even if you didn't know a style of play, Showmaker's already a dope name. And then also, it perfectly fit his style of play when he was at his peak. He was the guy who just did like some mad hands play, where, he'd cycle a whole spell rotation and dive in and out of fight, and like all the highlight shit that you love. Like, yes, one of the reasons why this guy, at one point in time, we thought he was going to be one of the GOATs. He was on that trajectory. So people have to remember, just like BDD, he's still in this team, bro. That guy's still in there somewhere. And if he ever comes alive like this, suddenly this team becomes a lot more interesting.
And we've gone full circle when we talked about conversation about being top 10. Like, if Showmaker is like your 5th best in the region, you're like, the conversation about mid lane is a whole different ball game.
That's a very fair point, because that is what someone would have said in past years. If someone had said, and Western fan, well, I think Caps is a top 10 mid laner, people would have said, yeah, but what about people who don't go to the internationals sometimes, like Showmaker? They'd be like, you're just living off his name from years ago. No, bro, we just saw like this. They can still do this, bro. In fact, if anything, I watched them in this tournament. Yeah, true, they beat a lot of the big names here. But I just go and look like that G2 series and think, maybe we'd think about Showmaker differently if he played in LEC, mate. Maybe we'd think like he's the fucking 5th best mid laner in the world, and we'd go, he should be back in LCK. Like, we'd all be saying that shit again, wouldn't we? No, I'm with you. I still think, though, I have to temper the expectations way more for D+. Yeah. I also do know those players, Shiwu, and especially Luz, they can go right back down again, mate. They can be right back in the mid area of LCK, which is very competitive right now. All right, I'll tell you another team I want to talk about from this tournament. And it's obviously got to be, we talked about them earlier, it's got to be BLG, because, bro, this tournament has even yielded a spicy rumor. I'm sure you saw it, which is now they're actually thinking of replacing Bin, right? This is where I should have done a live react, because when I just hear they're replacing Bin, bro, but he's been Mr. BLG. You can't do that. Bin and Knight, that's what we're all enjoying. But then here's the problem. Then that context comes in. They're looking at maybe like 369. Ooh. Wait a minute. Ben, love you, baby. Loved you in standard. You know what? If I've got a team that's got Knight, Jun, On, and then fucking Viper, brother, if I'm 369, like, you walk into that team, we might win worlds, mate. Like, that's on paper some, like, I actually said this on Twitter, I think that's an upgraded JDG 2023. Not right now, because Viper isn't as good as Ruler was, but I'll tell you what, On is better than Missing, and Jun is like pretty close to a Kanavi. Still got Knight. That roster's, the joke is they might be able to pivot, do like a sideways move and get better from this. Like, suddenly I get why they might do it. It hasn't been confirmed yet, by the way. These are all rumors. Maybe Ben ends up playing again. But I will say, I think fans who don't watch the LPL don't realise Bin hasn't been like first stand Bin the whole time. He has crazy highs still. If you ever give him a Jax, he still smashes everyone's head in. The problem is in fairness, you can only play that one time. And the issue is he definitely has series or even games where, he lanes well but then dies, or he doesn't do anything in the team fight. Sometimes he just has some flat out bad games. What do you think of this crazy drama? Apparently this guy also the whole last year just has drama around him 24/7. Fucking hell, mate. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it just seems like it seems so plausible because it's such a Danny coded move. I feel like, he got removed from T1 for benching, everybody left and right and did what he wanted to do to get a specific reaction out of people. And, the inside stories we hear from Bin is always that he's such a big drama queen, whether it's packing his bags and leaving to his hometown and forcing Shun to go on a side quest, like a filler episode in some weird anime, where he like revisits, he sees Bin's high school or something, and he sees like the remnants of why Bin is the way he is and unlocks like another truth or something. Yeah, it's like, in this moment, if he gets benched, I generally think it might be the best thing that could happen to Bin, because the ego seems to be the main thing that is holding him back. Because if I look at when he performed good, it was when you could consider it to be interesting to him, when it was the finals of first stand. And I think that generally against HLE in both series, I think he played very well.
Yes. Yes.
And beyond that, he was very quiet. And at this EWC, he was quite terrible. Like he was a liability, straight up. And maybe it's like one of those things where post MSI, you don't win MSI after doing all that work. It's like you kind of, there's a chance that you fall into yourself. It's like if you manage to get so close and still not make it, there's demons that are going to whisper in your ear that it's not possible. It's like, I did everything I could and we still couldn't make it over the finish line. Those moments are massive tipping points for either more motivation or a reason not to push. And if this is done for disciplinary reasons, and if they can get like a 369 and Toby Swartz is just going to continue his way on, I do think it's one of those things where obviously everybody remembers Shun's return to BOG, but when he actually got benched for Wei, he was not performing well. He was very chaotic in his level of play, and a big problem for BOG against Genji in particular, which was the team to beat for them because they lost against them at MSI, was that they couldn't play slow-paced games at all when the game invited that, and they just had a jungler that wanted to pressure, dive at all costs. And there were many games, especially that series against Genji, where it's like, oh, well, they defended that play, and then what happens next? Oh, they outscale us and just beat us. We need to kind of have a jungler here that's going to, tone us down a little bit and allow us to play, a slower version of the game, a lane swap heavy game, which came with Wei. And then Shun's return, even though everyone's going to look at that, why did they ever bench Shun? Maybe the benching was a crucial part of why Shun had such a dramatic impact when he actually did return.
Yeah.
And maybe this is one of those cases where maybe we see Bin not play, and then suddenly when he is put back in, maybe he will be more ready than ever. But you just hope it's not one of those situations where let's put in Duke because my top laner doesn't want to pick a specific champion, and it's like, oh shit, we are so much worse. Let's just put him back in. You just hope it doesn't turn into that. That's why 369 is exciting, because if you pick a top laner that is not good enough, your idea is not going to work.
And also, you always made the example last year. Same thing with Gumayushi. I don't think they were just mean to him and then he was forced to sit on the bench. I think actually that made him level his shit up again and become Gumayushi. Before that, he'd lost his way. That was looking like he was going to fucking just become one of the worst ADCs in the LCK. He was getting really sauce and he would have been blamed for it. If anything, they gave him a breather. And no one remembered. By the end of the year, he won the fucking Worlds and looked great again. Okay, I'll tell you another thing about BLG before we move on, and it's this. Bro, I said this last year about Viper in HLE. There are rare cases, it's very rare, where even if you lose, sometimes a player is almost blameless. It's like, mate, you could have pressed all the same keys. If your teammates did their job, you win the tournament. If they don't do their job, you lose. I think, mate, right now, I'll tell you the player I feel the most sorry for in all of Liga. It's Knight. Because even though he's won LCK in first stand, bro, in all these tournaments, it's like he's almost like he might have an okay game. That's a bad game for him now. Other than that, he's almost always a factor in these games. He's doing really, really well. It's just for real. Sometimes teammates let him down. Like I don't even know. Like I gotta say, I still think he's the best player in the world, man.
Yeah, I think Knight in terms of his play through MSI and also this AWC, post spring, like he's just in incredible form, and it's sad because I do think that what is holding Knight back is so fundamentally rooted in what the LPL is, because what has held back the LPL is kind of, simply put, the lack of professionalism in regards to
Definitely.
either players or in terms of how organizations are ran, or even how the LDL is ran too. Because obviously, these are things that he cannot affect. He cannot affect. Maybe he could, maybe he couldn't, but there's always something around him that, is stopping him from pushing over the finish line. It's crazy how the narrative is so different about Knight and to some degree also Chovy in the same bracket, but more so for Knight because he was at the cusp of making it over the finish line, which to me is the biggest difference. It's like the amount of international finals now that BLG has lost, it's beginning to add up, and the narrative would be so different around the player if he just managed together with his team to go over. Because one MSI win, one Worlds win, and then suddenly everything is so different. But a Knight deserves all the praise. Oh, what a great player! It's something that I wanted to mention to you. I don't know if you saw it, but someone made like a very, very first time. Like it's sometimes Reddit posts. There's some Reddit posts that are like, wow, this is someone actually took the time to read. I don't have it linked, but I will just explain the gist of it, where he basically explained that. A very big crisis in the LPL is how the LDL has shrank more and more. And what he highlighted is that there is only 10 teams left, pretty much, in a comparison to its peak when there was 26.
Oh wow!
And
Right.
there's so much fewer teams, so much fewer players that the LPL, as always, we ring the kind of bells of doom. It's like one of those things where this BLG roster might be the last like roster that could be competitive against the LCK, because if this roster breaks up, we are left with so many different organizations where GMing is poor and the treatment of rookies is poor, and at the same time, with laws in place in terms of how much the younger generation could play League, you are falling into a situation where you ask the questions like, what is the future of LPL? Like this BLG roster is the one that needs to succeed. If it doesn't, I don't know really what can happen. And bringing back Shun this year is supposed to be, the last, I don't want to be cliche, but the last dance for these guys, because after that, if for some reason this team breaks apart and you can't build a roster as good as this one around Knight, Knight will then just be the victim of being in his region, because I could never see a world where the LCK would import him, even though
No,
that would be
no,
sick.
no. Yeah, even though it would be cool, it just also feels like it'd be silly, wouldn't it? Like that one doesn't make sense. The reason, if people don't get it, the reason why the only player they imported was Lazy Field from Vietnam is obviously for him it's worth the gamble. Even if they're speaking Korean, it's better than being in Vietnam. And in their case, they did it. If people don't know, he wasn't like they also had a backup. They also did it for PR reasons to get a little bit of a pop because they weren't a top team. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any world, even if a fan hopes so, that any top LCK team signing Knight and then playing with fucking team, because you'd have to speak English at that point in time. I hope people get that. Like, it would be absurd to tell him to learn Korean. I don't think you could do it. It'd take like at least a few years to get any chance whatsoever. So, no, and also, it's not a minor detail. I always bring this up when it comes to Knight. He is Chinese. Like, he's not one of those amazing LCK players. Like, by the way, Scouts had times where he was mega insane on that LNG roster, no matter how bad the team played. He was always like the rock. The idea a Chinese player is not only the best team player in the world, but even when his team loses, that is so rare. If anything, the Chinese players are the up and down randy ones that normally go to the international, either win you it or bomb the whole thing. So, yeah, I think actually people have to give him his respect. Okay, one other thing about EWC is this. There is a team I didn't mention from earlier who I actually think should be so glad this tournament was full of random upsets and crazy drama and interviews and teams aren't getting paid because, brother, they do this every time. How many fucking internationals is MCoich going to shit the bed at, bro? Like, all of them? Check notes, all of them? You know what? People often point out that Humanoid, even though he did actually have your fanatic, but people delete that one. You have to go all the way back to 2021 when he's in Mad Lions. So do you for El Yoya. So do you for my boy El Yoyo. I think he's a sick player. And by the way, I'm even one of the people who's edgy enough to say, I get why if you're MCoy, you don't say, yeah, you know what, Inspired, El Yoyo's kicked and you're in the team. It's because like, he is MCoy, bro. He's the captain, the shot caller. It's obvious on his game. The problem is we've got to see it internationally, mate. I can't keep doing this. Like, you skated by this time because, as I said, there was so many other things distracting people. Like, you basically, if you were El Yoyo, you got to do that thing of like a fucking bad Hollywood movie. Like, hey, look, there's a bird behind you. And then you like run away quickly. Like, this is nuts, though, mate. Like, you were completely irrelevant in this tournament. Like, you did fuck all at MSI because you weren't there. You did nothing here. Bro, this is getting really disturbing because remember, they're not going to change roster as far as we know. They're going to play out this year. Like, if I look at them in LEC, they're probably going to be third. That means they'll go to Worlds. If they go to Worlds right now, mate, I'll have them going 1 and 3. You know what I mean? I don't have them as a team that's going to make KC now. I believe they have an outside chance to make some crazy playoff run for that last spot that isn't LPL. There's no, for MCoy, I'm a bit down on them on this right now, Yamato. It's hard to look at them and really like, give a fuck. What do you think of MCoy?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the record against GAM, it's like GAM is what their arch nemesis now.
I know,
like,
bro.
What are we talking about? like how can GAM be the team that is your boogeyman?
I know. You know, everyone else, some people are sitting there, oh no, what if I have to face BLG? That's like G2. Oh no, fuck. What if the American teams, oh, what if we have to play T1? El Yoya sat up all night, GAM, oh, GAM. Like, fuck, bro, what are you talking about? No, they're getting in your ass every time, I know. GAM.
No, it's rough. You know, it's like one of those things where, you know, the roster has gone on for so long in terms of their flaws, because even the way they lost was pathetic. It's like they had the better draft, in my opinion. They had the snowballed early game, and they did the impossible, losing with a Hextech soul. It's just that this issue has been synonymous with MCoy since the inception of this roster, where they throw massive leads, and that just doesn't seem to change. And in a world where, you know, there were segments where I had respect for, the coaching that they did, and, you know, some of the fact that they had the bravado to actually take an upset win against G2 when nobody else in the region actually could, regardless of how good of a position BDS and Fnatic was in. It's just that right now, this is so stagnant. You know, at this point, you know, if they make a change and suddenly they announce that Alfari is now the head coach of the team, and he does a candid interview about how the atmosphere was shit, you know, like something needs to change. There needs to be a shock to the system, because it's just been too much of the same losses, too much of the same strengths. They have been too similar to past versions of themselves, where the only real change has been, wow, Jojapune is individually performing. And regardless of your individual performances or what is held back from you, like the team identity has always suffered from the same problems. And I just think that this team really needs a shock to the system. The fact that, for example, Mythy went to Team Heretics rather than MCoy picking up a Mythy. This is something that we talked about before when Mythy was available.
Especially the Spanish part, bro. He's even Spanish, you know what I mean? That's right there. It's right there.
That could have been like a very big synergistic point, and maybe, you know, you would be able to give yourself the shock that you need, because now, as you said, it's like coming into the LEC, Like, I was talking about how Casey and G2 is going to have a rematch in the finals, and maybe in summer now is the one where Casey win. The reason that I'm so confident talk about that is exactly because of how MCOY is. Exactly how Vitality is now bringing in Fiesta and removing Humanoid. GX also making massive roster changes. Everything around them is burning. There's only Casey and G2 that gives us some form of, consistency, really. And MCOY the same. It's like they are consistently the same with the same problems. It's like I am excited for MCOY's off season because I do think that there's some names they can bring into top lane and AD. Maybe they can harvest some players from North America or something. But currently, what is there to be excited for? It's just nothing there really when it comes to the internationals, as you said.
Because that leads me now to, I've got another poly market. So there's obviously one that now I think got weird spicy with the perks thing, the KC run, MCOY being it's obviously who wins LEC summer. Remember, in the past, that was a foregone conclusion. It's like the old gag, isn't it? Right? If people don't know, this actual joke that everyone's repeated a million times in all sports, I believe comes originally actually from Gary Lineker, the England player, where because of his era of football, the 80s and 90s, his quote was something like, football's a game where 22 men play against each other on a pitch and then Germany wins. That was like the joke or something. Because back then, Germany was the powerhouse. Even if they don't win, they're going to come second. They were always so insane internationally, and it was just automatic. G2 has that same feeling. They can fuck around in the first 2 weeks. They can even go 5 games with someone. They could even lose, as we've seen. They will still come along at the end and win LEC Summit, and then everyone will say the same thing. Wow, Caps wins all the time. Lol, Dylan Falco, go, etc. That's not that. All of those prior assumptions are now up for grabs, gentlemen. Like, if you think about what has just changed, you could not have asked for a more drama-injected LEC Summit than we have now. So, as a result, if you go and look. Wait there 1 second. Actually, wait, have I missed something on this? Maybe I got the wrong one. Wait there 1 second. I think I've maybe picked the wrong one. I'm just going to double check the right. Wait there a second, boys. Wait there a second. We'll edit this in post. Because I think I actually picked like the wrong market there, where that doesn't seem like it's right. Well, I'm trying to find the one for like the winner of LEC. Wait there a second. Where is it? Yeah, but when I go to that, it just says like win totals. Do you not know what I mean? What is win totals? That's not win the league. That's why I think there's another one somewhere. Oh, it's bugged or something. Yeah, that says win totals. Yes, I'm aware. I linked the wrong one. Stop telling me that I linked that. Yes, I'm aware I linked it. That is not the right one. This is the right one. You're literally. Wait a minute. That's it. I clicked the wrong one myself on my own screen. That is correct. You're on the right one. Okay, that's good. There's actually a separate one that's about win total. I don't know what a win total is, by the way. So this is the correct one. We want to do the overall market. Who is going to win LEC Summer? So if you look at it right now, because of these results, it's gotten super spicy. So G2 is at 35%. That isn't even number one. KC is now 36%. Obviously, this tournament has actually changed that for them. They're now taking a dip above. After that, by the way, it gets crazy. MCOY is only 12%. Everyone else is like nothing. Everyone else less than 3%, right? Yamato, who wins LEC for you?
Oh, damn.
That's the big question, bro. It's a hard one, right?
I think gun to my head, I have to go with G2, right? I have to. But I do think that, more so than ever, I think this might be the toughest one with all the context that we have. I believed in G2 in winter and spring also easily through and through. But now with all the context that we have, I do think that this one is the one that is going to be the closest. And that is talking from a position knowing that the finals went to 5 games and everything was remarkably close. And I do think that G2 still... they have showcased that they have a lot of strong individual performances, but a lot of hinges on the aftermath of the departure of Dylan Falco. We have more question marks around G2 than ever because they were the hallmark of a team that sticks together and had a 2-year project, outlined for how they want to, of course, do things and have a very, very strict core. And the core was never touched. It's like when it was Broken Blades, Caps, Dylan Falco, Rodrigo, and Romain. That was like the guys that have been there since 2022. And they've added pieces. Hansama came in later with Mickey, of course. Mickey's out. Jungle change. Yike. Yanko's out, and so forth. But that core has remained the same. And the removal of Dylan Falco, I'm intrigued to see how that's going to look like. For example, a player like Broken Blade, how different will he be? He has worked with Dylan Falco now for 5 years straight. Will he be missing something? Caps as well. He's been working with him for a very long time. I am really intrigued to see how that lands. And as much as I love Perks as in terms of how he is as a player, right, and what he of course has contributed to G2 and his kind of vision for how a team needs to move forward and how he kind of carried the torch of course, Mythy Macro into the middle age into, of course, the current age of LEC, gameplay. I do think that it carries risk, but if someone's going to be able to bring them to new heights in terms of their potential, I can see Perks as that, but the risks are clearly there.
I would just say this. I'm with you. There are red flags. That interview had some of them. That it's not necessarily like, even if this guy has brilliant ideas and great leadership, for all we know, basic coaching things might be missing for him. How you handle media, how you communicate, how you bounce back from losses, what you do when you don't like things in the org and they frustrate you. These are all red flags. At the same time, I'm willing to believe it's possible. Also, fair play. People like Caps maybe signed off on this. That's kind of sexy to me. It's not just the org doing some crazy move. The problem is, right, I'm with you that like it could go bad, but they've earned my trust now, bro. I have to see them lose before I believe they will. So I will just say this. On this particular market, I think the value is crazy to just take G2. You'll never get G2 this low again when they are still the exact same roster that is capable of winning, has players that, at least in LEC, can all be among the best and the best. Remember, even Labrov's having a mega year. People forget that because other people have had some dodgy results elsewhere. Like, for example, if Broken Bread had that series against Lion, people like Labrov will be getting celebrated right now. Like, actually, finally, he has completely overcome was it a mistake to kick it Mickey X thing now? No one does that. That conversation doesn't exist anymore. No one's having that one now. We're all fine with Labrov. Like, no one's even doing that. Maybe G2 should have gotten Busio. No one does that now. Because I tell you what, Busio himself up and down, mate. He also has to prove some things to me. So I'm with you. I would still take G2 to win it. I still think it just makes the most sense, the most logical one. Right. I actually think now what's interesting is there's a detail that people have maybe missed after this tournament, which is because of the NC, which is that esports Nations Cup, which is basically like the World Cup style format, nations in league play against the one you all said you wanted. Well, because they're putting that in the off season, they've actually had to take Kesper Cup, which obviously is in the off season before LCK starts for the following year, and they've just brought it all the way forward. You're going to think, to when, Thorin? Now, it begins today. As I am filming on Monday, it has already begun. Now, obviously, they've made accommodations for people who are in Saudi Arabia. They don't fucking play on that particular day, do they? Like, so what? But so if you don't know, they've scheduled it purposely so they get to play. You ready for this? Tomorrow. What? 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 We just said EWC's bad. You had 3 days for that one. If you're D+, are you back home? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could really deal with a nap. Yeah, after your Kesper Cup game, mate. What are you talking about? Why? What? They have to play. Mate, this is nuts. Look, I'm all for more tournaments, you know. Yeah, bring them on. Let's have some fucking fun. Let's watch. You know what? We were all complaining. There's not enough splits in LCK. We need more chances. Bro, this is insane. You start a day after EWC. Like, I can't even believe what, like, imagine being like HLE and T1 players, man. Like, you're just playing back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Mate, it's just going to be all the way till the end. God forbid you're in the ANC roster. You're never going to get a break this year. It's mental, isn't it? When do you ever get to sleep? What do you think of this tournament being scheduled like this, mate? And I didn't even see anyone talking about it. I looked myself and I saw some news. Like, wait a minute, that date can't be 20th of July. What year? 2026. That's today.
It's mental, man. You know, when you linked it, I was surprised. I had no idea. I had no idea. And then, like, I dig a little deeper. And the thing is, it's like Kesper Cup. They're going to play it Monday, Tuesday over the span of the next 4 weeks. It's like...
Wednesdays, when did we play LCK? I know it's been like, what day do we get off? We have to sleep, boys. We have to sleep, for fuck's sake. And when are we scrimming? When are we scrimming games?
Oh, my. It's like, it's a tournament that spans for 5 weeks. The finals is gonna be 18th of August on a Tuesday. So every Monday, Tuesday, this tournament runs on Disney Plus. So I don't know who the hell is gonna watch that on Disney Plus.
I know.
I don't know who made this business deal.
I know.
But
What kid is surfing around? Oh, shall I watch Mandalorian? Whatever it's. Oh, Kesper Cobb, my favorite. Let me tune in. Nongshim versus KRX. And shut up. No one's watching it, you idiot. No one's watching it.
Oh, man. As every Monday, Tuesday for 5 weeks straight. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I remind you guys, last year, post EWC, it's like we had the post EWC, post MSI slump from some of these teams, and now they gotta drive themselves just to the bone. Like this is absurd. It's like, why add another tournament into the schedule where the result of it is going to be so unlegitimate? It's like, who the winner of Kesper Cup? Should I care? Should I care about the winner of Kesper Cup? I don't think so.
I know.
It's strange.
Which is a bummer because it does have like BO5 gauntlets that are a bit like the old LCK. It's got like all the things you'd want. It's all the top teams, but it's every Kesper team. You're going to have all those teams battling. In theory, we should be hyped. It's like, hey, another chance to maybe see a best of 5, by the way. You're out between like Genji, T1, Hanwha Life versus T. These are the matches we all want to see, but I know what you mean. This feels like, put it this way, not quite because it's online and it isn't stupid, but this almost feels like the EWC qualifiers. People forget they had those. We didn't just invite the MSI team. We had the qualifiers. That's why certain regions, LPL and LCK, had some weird results. We had some teams where it's like, why are they doing that? They're not even MSI team. Because what happened was teams just couldn't focus on both, mate. And the teams that did well in their regular split, some of them didn't do well in the EWC. And some of the ones that did well in EWC did nothing in their regular split. They only got the Randy online bullshit qualifiers. So, no, I'm with you. It's why actually we've got much to say about this tournament. We can't really preview it. I mean, the joke is, as we're speaking, teams are probably on planes still going back to LCK to play tomorrow, which is, I just think that's mental. I think you're just asking too much of players there. Like, that's absurd to me. That's absurd.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the schedules. Like Genji has to play HLE, T1, and Bro on the same day. Just 3 BO1s. Boom. You just gotta play them.
It's nuts, isn't it? Right, here's what we're gonna do. Right, I say we just take a little 30-second, 1-minute break, and then come back and we'll do the Q&A and the LFM premium stuff. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Right, back in a
minute.
Do
we have to give?
Right, we are back. Obviously, we are now going to let you know at the end of the show. I've got a way to structure this. Last week, we told you we launched LFM Premium. We gave you a taste of, we gave you that special Q&A section. We're going to do that in a few minutes. That will actually be, if you're not a subscriber, behind the paywall, though. If you go to lastfreenation.com, you subscribe to LFM Premium, then it's $9 a month. Or if you subscribe the whole year, it's $90 a year, which actually works out then to $7.50 a month, so you get a saving. You can pick what show you like the best. If you pick Summoning Insight, me and Yamato will get the lion's share of your subscription. Obviously, yeah, we love all the sponsors we mentioned, and we also do this some of it for passion as well to get our word out in the scene and shit. But we also, by having subs, that means that we don't have to, if we run out of sponsors, suddenly sell out the company. We don't have to have some big corporate overlords or some game dev telling us what we can and can't talk about on some shady shit. So one of the cool things is our subs are really like the heartblood of the scene that we've got here. And in this case, they're contributing topics to certain shows. Like you can do that on shows like the Hot Take Point Made, etc. Shut Up and Scale. On this show, what you can do is you can ask questions. If you already, by the way, with someone who asked them via the Discord sub, you can keep doing that, but it's just better bang for your buck to get the Elephant Premium because you get the Discord access anyway. And as well, you have things like if we read out your question, I often forgot to do this on other shows. On their site, I'll always mention your name as well. So I'll make sure you know that your topic was the one or your question was the one that we read out, right? We will go and if you do it, you also get ad-free access to all the 16 LFN shows on all the podcast platforms. Any additional content also gets put on there because you'll have access to the paywall stuff that is part of the premium. So like with all premium services, we wanted it to be that you're not now suddenly like, oh, what the hell? I have to get that. No. If you just want more, if you just want to support us, you want to pay for extra things and get more cool things from us, from the other shows on LFN Network, on LFN 4Play, for example, there's now a 5th movie we review in each arc, not just The Floor. It's called 5th Play, uninspired name, but whatever. The point is you can now get access to it. But before we do that, I have one last thing I want to ask about, which is this. Obviously, we just touched on it lightly earlier, right? We didn't really shade it into our analysis, but what do you think of this D+ thing, bro? What do you think of the fact that essentially they're a month out? Here's the problem, Yamato. I can't quite tell. This is why I'm actually asking, because I want to propose it in a way I haven't heard anyone frame it, right? The idea you're a month behind isn't that crazy for the esports industry if people don't know. There have been plenty of teams, even big teams, by the way, will have had that happen over the last 5-10 years in LEC and LCS, where they've just had a month where basically it might be something like, oh, sorry, a big sponsor didn't pay, or actually we've had like a big cost here we've had to do, or even something as simple as there's actually something going on with like wire transfers or banking. There's a million things can affect it, right? The investors didn't give money on time for when they said they would, right? That's one thing. In fact, in Counter-Strike, I can tell you, people who work on broadcast, commentators, analysts, interviewers, there's been times where ESL, one of the best tournament organizers in the world, they've sometimes been 3 to 6 months behind paying people. It's just people don't say publicly because people are worried that that'll like stop you getting hired for more gigs, or it'll just like kill the company. Now, I will say this is why I want to make it wide open, right? 1 month of no salary, I said earlier, it can be affect your mind though, but I also can't tell if what they're doing is being really Korean here. What they're trying to do is be like really responsible and show that like, oh, we understand we're behind and it's our fault and we want to tell the world that we're a month behind and we're going to try and fix it. I can't tell if it's that or if it's actually the real alarm bells of like, we're a month behind and the reason we're announcing it now, bro, is like maybe we're going to be even more, maybe this is going to be like gradually the end of D+. Maybe this is the last year where this is the roster we have, this is the team, maybe they even the team that's to consider leaving LCK. I know we're just speculating. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? I can't tell if it's a molehill or a mountain, Yamato.
Yeah, it just seems to be everything is rooted in the news that D+ is trying to also sell the organization, right? In terms of how they have managed the brand, honestly, in terms of how strong the Damwon brand was, I do feel like a lot of the decisions they made along the way definitely like removed them from what their strength was. I don't know what the ownership timeline was there. All I knew was that Kia, like Damwon Kia was the team, you know, right? It's like it was the head sponsor for the longest time. The fact that they're in a position that they are in the process of selling, and that's the conversation. I'm with you. It could be the final moments of D+. I wonder, like, if I was in a situation where I'm buying this org, like I'm returning the Damwon name. Like I feel like that name is so damn powerful. Yeah. People call D+ Damwon to this day, and I do think there is an opportunity in that. And I just, you know, in this whole process of like them winning EWC, I just hope that the money actually goes to the players.
Definitely.
Because that to me is my concern. Because it's like I see as the party that is not paying the players as the bad guy here, while the community narrative is around D+. Like, oh, finally they have the money to pay the players. Like, no. It's like, I hope that the entire prize pool goes into the pockets of the players. Because if you're in a situation now where they weren't paying their players and they're gonna make a profit off of them now in this moment due to this tournament result through the prize pool, that would be very upsetting to me. So I hope that whoever screwed up here is actually going to pay the consequence rather than, oh, they won EWC and now everything is okay. It's like, no, everything is not okay. Like,
Yes.
I hope they don't walk away with their money and they actually get their money, because obviously it can differ widely. Like, the difference in terms of how prize pool distribution happens is very, very varied from player to player and from team to team. So I hope the D plus players are not in a position where, oh, we signed these rookies and then in their contract, if there's anything that is predatory about, like we talked about how in the LDL, it's like there is the whole the gambling corruption angle that can happen. If there is any form of pressure or abuse of power that can happen that we've seen a couple of times coming out of Korea, is when you have rookies signing contracts. I remember the story of how they basically Griffin tried to sell Kanavi in a way that he would be signed for 7 years to I believe JDG at the time, which is just like, what the hell are we talking about? 7 years, like his whole life, it's like it's as they're putting him on a ship and he has to
that was the famous thing.
And shit.
If people don't know, when Irish people used to actually be sent as a punishment from Ireland to America, the New World, and they would become what was called an indentured servitude. It was a 7-year span. They used to be given as like a prison sentence to work on like a fucking. That's what it feels like, isn't it? It's like, hey, good news, Kanavi, we got your team. All right, cool. For 7 years, you're in JDG. Like, what? Like the 7-year contract? Like, that's your whole career, mate. What are you talking about? I'm with you. And by the way, I'm also with you. First of all, that is the weirdest one of all time. The most famous example of it, obviously, of a title sponsor is Team Liquid, isn't it? They've pushed, because they also do it in their marketing. Thank you, Honda, Team Liquid Alienware. They go hard with that angle, right? Because it's a good angle to have the title sponsor. They'll pay. If you don't know, the title sponsor pays way more than any other sponsor in your org. The problem is, I'm with you. Damwon fucked up the branding, bro. You had the best team in the world champions, and no one calls you Damwon anymore. But that's your team's name. DK and D plus. That doesn't work. Those are nothing. You're starting off with those, and those aren't the teams then now that you're successful with. So I'm with you. I would take Damwon's name back. And also, I don't think we can lose Damwon as an LCK org, bro. Because as much as you might not like them, they've never truly been terrible. They've had moments where they dipped, but they've always been in that mix for that last spot. And to mix it up with the T1s and the KTs, if you look at it, right, we need literally the 6 or 7 good orgs in LCK. If we lose this one, right, literally the next orgs up are the likes of Therex. No one even knows what to make of them, for fuck's sake. Then you've got like the Nongshims. They've never really been elite. Because I'll give you an example. There are orgs that have had rosters that were really good. If you go way back in time, like 8 years ago, Afrika Freaks was really good. Afrika Freaks right now is DN, one of the worst teams in the whole fucking league. If you go back, bro, Kingzone used to have Khan, and then they became DRX and they won Worlds. DRX is nothing now. They're another team where you play if you just used to be vaguely a good player. Now you're still in LCK. Like, we can't have these be the orgs because they're not going to put together the right rosters. Like, you might not like D plus and KT, but I'll tell you what, even their bad rosters have like something about them. They have some players you care about. They have some spice to them still. And they've also built around star players like BDD and Showmaker that get to stay. And we have a new through line. So I'm with you. We need this team to stay, mate. I hope this is just a minor speed bump. Actually, if anything, let's hope the EWC money, one, means the players don't need the salary. Listen, sadly, EWC is ESL, so I doubt they pay the money instantly, but they're probably going to pay the money in the next few months. You'll get some of that. And then also, you recover from all this. Hopefully, you go to Worlds. You can also do sponsored deliverables. And then next year, hopefully, there's just nothing. And then it's back to being normal. It's back to being down. I'm with you. Make it down one, for fuck's sake. Make it down one. Come on.
It's the equivalent of like buying Fnatic and then destroying the name or like deleting the name. It just wouldn't make any sense. And something that I just realized because I thought back, I remember when like the issue that Samsung faced was very different because they were named after a goddamn phone, like,
yeah, exactly.
They needed to make a change, and in the beginning they were KSV, bro. That
yeah,
was
people
like,
forget that was briefly, yeah.
that wasn't so hype, but now Genji, like the rebranding to Genji as like has played out really, really well. Because the rebrand is always very, very hard to go through, regardless of what your motivation for it is. Because obviously in the Samsung case it's very strong, and in the Damwon one, I really can't tell what the hell the motivation was. I don't know. Maybe I'm being silly, and maybe Damwon was a company or maybe a sponsor. I have no idea. It just sounded badass as all hell. I just want to keep the DK, the Damwon. We need to keep that in, you know.
By the way, I've just realized something, right? I have to actually, we're going to have to pause for a second because I have to ask you a question now, like, and you're in a tough spot, mate. You're going to have to make an executive decision. It could fuck everything up. Do you know an obvious angle? You might, maybe you know what I don't from doing other shows, but I feel like there's an obvious angle we haven't addressed in the company. How are we doing this for free live on YouTube and Twitch if people watch right now and then it going behind a paywall? We're about to do the Q&A section. Shouldn't that be recorded offline? Has to be. Right. No one ever told me that, mate. Again, you know what? Maybe tell the fucking star of the show. Not the costume, the start of the show. I have that on my dressing room. It says star of the show.
I saw your wording. It was very specific.
It's all good.
I noticed.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you want to see our Q&A section we're going to have, obviously go and sign up to LFM Premium. If you do, pick Summoning Insight, and me and Yamato will very much appreciate it because you'll also get all the perks and enjoy them. And we'll see you in the Q&A and for next week of Summoning Insight.